The Launchcast Reboots.
The Launchcast Reboots.
You're listening to The Launchcast, the podcast about leadership, business, life, and growth with me, your host, George Andriopoulos.
It's like food for your ears.
Hey, everybody. It's the LaunchDad. Welcome to the Launchcast Reboots. You are looking at a couple of months of what we're calling the Reboot series leading up to Season 2. So today, episode 140 is entitled, I Am Not Your Ordinary Guy. This is a reboot of our very first episode with our first guest ever, Mike Delguidice. This thing set the tone for what the Launchcast was going to be. We got into such a heavy discussion of not only life and music with Mike, who of course is a background vocalist and guitarist for Billy Joel and his band, but he's a solo artist in his own right, an incredible solo artist, one of my favorites. And we got into a conversation about life, about music and business, but we got into a heavy conversation about leadership. And that was so cool to see in this first episode. And it helped to shape what this show was going to turn into. Now, I listened to this back as I was editing this, and it's rough, man. On my part, this was my first episode ever. I was a newbie at this, just learning the art of podcasting, learning my podcasting voice, learning how to get professional and deep on that microphone, get my bass out. And I had a lot of ums and uhs, and somehow, I think it's because I was talking to Mike, who is a fellow Long Islander, but my Long Island accent really came out. Not like it's not there in my other episodes, but man, was it heavy in this episode. But this was a blast. This was one of our longest episodes to date. I think the only other one that was longer was the Carol Silva episodes, which we cut into 2 episodes. But we have music performances by Mike. We have some amazing conversations, during the interview where we got into life and Mike's story coming up, and really how his journey has led him to the leadership moment that he's in right now. And so I didn't really cut much from this episode. We dressed it up a little bit, and we're rebooting. Again, episode 101 is being rebooted as episode 140. I Am Not Your Ordinary Guy. I hope you guys can hear my baby screaming in the background. That's little Joanna. She's trying to be part of this show. Enjoy this episode, guys. It was an amazing one, and we'll see you next week.
At this time, I'm going to ask that you fasten your seatbelts.
Launch sequence.
Launch sequence activated.
Launch sequence activated.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Woo! Welcome to the Launchcast. What's happening, everybody? I love this song. My name is George Andriopoulos. I am the LaunchDad himself, bringing you this incredible podcast. We're talking leadership, we're talking life, we're talking business, we're talking growth, and we're talking about it all with my guest today, Mr. Mike Delguidice. What's happening, Mike?
How you doing, brother?
Thank you, my friend.
to see
Thank
you.
you for being here. I am so excited. So I want to talk for a minute just about the show. Since it's our first episode here, I'm so excited to do this, guys. This is something that I've been working towards for a while. Those who know me know about my work that I've been doing. I do a lot of leadership work, a lot of community work, and kind of came from a place where I wasn't really a fan of the person I was years ago. And all these years later, all this work I've done on myself brought me to this place where I think I'm in a position to sort of bring leaders out, right? Talk to people that are in need of guidance and in need of leadership, and sort of give them the tools to kind of get out there. That's what I do with my business. That's what I do with my leadership masterclass that I do. And so this podcast is going to be about speaking to people that I consider leaders, somebody like you.
You don't get out much.
I don't get out much. Speaking to people who I consider leaders, and really talking about those spark moments that you realized that leadership was here, right? How you balance that leadership in your life, and the story behind it, right?
Yeah.
So thank you for being here again, man.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I appreciate you asking me, man.
Yeah, man.
It's great.
Oh, dude. So I'm gonna do a brief little intro on my guest here. So Mike Delguidice, a brilliant vocalist and composer and a master of several instruments. He is the author of 2 albums, My Street and my favorite, which is Miller Place. And several of his new songs are under favorite consideration for film soundtracks and TV soundtracks, including the one that did make it, Mike's song Ordinary Guy, which was the theme song for Kevin James' sitcom Kevin Can Wait. After 18 years of playing Billy Joel's music in his band Big Shot, Mike Delguidice now lives his dream come true as a background vocalist and guitarist for the one and only Billy Joel, one of my favorites. Mike tours with Billy all over the country and abroad in major arenas and stadiums, including every month at the iconic Madison Square Garden, where you were last night, right?
Last night.
How was that, dude?
It was fun last night. Last night was off the rails a little bit, but it was fun. Yeah, it really was. Great show.
So, all right, I want to jump in.
All right.
First question, man. Since this is about leadership, are you a leader?
I don't think I'm a good leader.
Why?
I think I'm soft. I'm a little mush. You know, I tend to give the benefit of the doubt a lot. And I think to be a good leader, from what I've seen from outside leaders, at least to have a hugely successful business, I think you have to be a little bit able to confront and to whatever. And I'm a Pisces. I'm more of a guy that's like, I won't say anything to you until I have to strangle you. You know what I mean? So that's more where I come from. I don't know. I don't view myself as that. But I wish I had better skills that, you know, for that at times I'll look back and in retrospect and go, I probably should have said that there and it would have avoided this or avoided that. You seem like a guy that's like, you know, not only you the beginning phase, but you implement also. You know,
yeah,
and there are people that aren't implement. I have great ideas, and they usually are gone by 2:00 in the afternoon. And you're the kind of person that seems like you implement the stuff that you think about.
I appreciate that, but I'll tell you, I'm as much of a fucking disaster as anybody out there. Dude.
I thought I was the only fucking mess.
I make it look good on this camera, but as soon as I leave this camera, I'm a disaster. No,
good.
You're talking about all these traits that you talked about are what make you human. They don't make you not a leader, to me, right? They make you human, which to me makes you a better leader, right? So if you think those are the flaws that don't make you a leader, what's your definition of a leader?
I think it would be somebody that, good question. So you've trapped me now. Because I think
that's what I do.
Yeah. I think honestly, if you're going toward leadership in a different, if you're looking at it from a different angle, you know, we think leadership and right away we think of, you know, structure and this and that. I'm more the kind of person that I'm just going to sit back and not say as much. And I think a great leader is somebody that can have a great sense of what other people want first and what they need first. Because I think if you have people like I have my band under me and guys that I employ all the time, and I think what I've learned over the years is that it's about learning from, you know, it's almost an example, learning from an example kind of thing. And you want to make sure that, my thing is always being, I want a leader that's nice. I don't want somebody talking down to me.
Right.
I don't want somebody looking at me and going and pointing a finger and getting any kind of, you know, a good leader knows how to, like a good shepherd knows how to just move the sheep so delicately, you know, and so whatever. And does that by example and does that by love and also does that by sometimes having to be a little firm, but never, the firmness never gets to a point where you're actually looking at the person and going, now you're a dick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
for
being able to really take in everybody around you and go, okay, like kind of like Sonny said in the Bronx. I don't give too much. I don't give too. I think that's what makes a great leader. You know.
Yeah.
They give you a good amount so you stay, but you don't get too much so you whatever. I think that made sense. That was a good line in that movie.
And thank you for opening the car door for me earlier too. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I reached.
Yeah, no. So let me tell you that those traits are so key in leadership. You know, that community, right? Bringing the people in around you and making them part of the team and lifting them up.
Yes.
That to me is what makes a leader. There's an interesting lyric in one of your songs, Ordinary Guy, which we mentioned. So the lyric is, I'm just like those ordinary people.
Hey, shut up out there.
The lyric is, I'm just like those ordinary people. Live from check to check just to get by. I don't need no bling to breathe. Got 2 cents, that's fine for me. I am not your ordinary guy. So you're saying here in this lyric that you are one of the ordinary people, but you're not an ordinary guy. So to me, that's a leader, right? And I'm trying to get deep with your lyrics here, but that's a leader because it's somebody that considers themselves a part of that community, like you were saying.
Yeah.
But you know what? Like, there's something special where you have like that responsibility to kind of get out there and be that leader.
I'm glad that's what the song said to you. And
Tell me what you really meant.
really, what it was about. The song was written as like a kind of like a sarcastic response to the view that the stereotypical musician gets, which is just sex, drugs, rock and roll, and they must be messes, and they must be cheaters, they must be this. Are you kidding me? That used to always drive me crazy when people would say that. I'm like, really? Because I don't ever find myself even opening my eyes long enough to look at anybody, to want to even be with anybody, or to want to do something stupid. You know what I mean? I've been married enough. I've had enough situations. I don't think I need any more in my life.
There we go. Samesies.
Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's like, all right, I think I'm good there. That's the song was more written as like a response to people that just stereotype musicians. And it was that really, and it was also somebody that was around me, and I'll never bring up names, but somebody that I really wrote that part about. There's a certain line in the bridge I'm actually talking to somebody specific.
Okay.
The bridge is the only part that it goes to me talking about somebody.
Okay.
Or to somebody about something, and they'll never know who they are ever. I'll never divulge.
Love it.
Yeah.
All right, so let's take it back a little bit. So I'm gonna do this sort of Howard Stern style without the nudity, right? So you grew up in Miller Place, New York, North Shore of Long Island. Your parents, Fred and Josie, they lived paycheck to paycheck just to get, and I read this, to get ravioli or pork and beans on the table for you. Is that true?
At times, we ate good. Don't get me wrong, we ate good, but there were times where we were a middle class, lower to middle class family. We got by.
Right.
My parents, we never wanted for anything.
Right.
We always had.
Right.
Whether it was like a couple of weeks of Pop-Tarts and what I mean, it didn't matter. It was just, but we always had our Chinese night during the week. They made sure that we had pizza on one night, and we always had that sense of like that no matter what, we were going to be okay. We were not starving ever.
Sure.
I don't want to portray that, but at the same token, compared to
but hard workers.
Hard workers.
Right?
Yeah,
and they showed you that.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
You and your 2 brothers, right?
Yeah, my brother Joe, my brother John. Yeah, my brother Joe is in Jersey now, and John's on the island. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So, some adversity when you were younger, right? You had a congenital kidney condition when you were a child that required 7 surgeries?
It required a lot of surgeries. I don't know the exact amount, but I will say that it was probably they probably revisited the same areas many times that I had. I was born with basically it seemed like it was I'm pretty sure it was a defect of the ureters, the tubes that go from the kidneys to the bladder.
Yep.
They just weren't connected to the bladder. So, and the valves that were at the top of the bladder that open up and close to let urine in and put it back out were backward, or they weren't there.
So they had to rerun
I was
your
just septic.
Yeah.
I was born septic. So I came out and I was yellow. I was just, so I had to go through, they had to get me stabilized from that first. So I don't know what they did, but whatever happened over a series of a few years from what I what is that sound?
That's all the comments coming in. It's
okay, that's good. Good. That's
Blowing
good.
up.
No, that's okay.
Yep.
As long as yeah. So there was a lot of adversity for my parents. My parents will still talk to me about the amount of frightening scares they had, and with me, and how close I was at times to maybe not getting there and not making it.
Sure.
I lost function of the left kidney, so I had bags, nephrostomy bags out of my side. I would pull them out. I would get seizures. I would get high fevers and seizures. They would have to rush me to the hospital. I mean, it was definitely, and I know now as a parent what I've gone through. I can understand, now what they definitely went through with a sick child. But no, I was not a healthy baby. I was born unhealthy.
So your parents really went through the ringer.
Oh yeah, they went through the ringer. Yeah, they definitely did. Yeah.
So you've talked about your mom a lot. You've spoken about your mom growing up, who was the influence to the song Josie, right? Which I want to, if I can, I want to play a little bit of it. Okay. So I love this song. This is
thank
one
you.
of my favorites, man. It's one of my favorites.
Oh, thank you.
We got you, Josie.
Josie was born in a Long Island town.
It's from a live performance. he
I was
did.
going to say, this
Miller
doesn't
Place.
sound like the album.
Yeah.
Sound. Forced into motherhood before her time.
This is a lyric I want to talk about.
Josie could never be found.
I think I know what it is.
Hiding
Right here.
in the closet with her tiny tear. Listens to the sound of music coming up the stairs. And when she sits at home at night, she cries. Joe.
It's heavy, dude.
Yeah.
That's heavy
It's
stuff.
it's a really deep song. It
Yeah,
definitely is.
that's
It definitely
really heavy stuff. So talk about that a little bit. What kind of influence did your mom have and your relationship with your mom have on your music?
With the music, I would definitely say it was her influences, what she listened to, and the fact that she also was not afraid to, every once in a while, belt out a concert for us at home and just start singing Streisand and go into a concert where she would do like songs and just sing songs, belt them out with the record on, and I think it was evident that musicality was something that could have been in my parents a lot more if that generation was very rigid, very rigid generation. So everything was like, you got to do things the way it's supposed to be done. And I think that both my parents, had they gone a different route, would have been able to have way more musical and artistic and theatrical, whatever, ways of releasing their stuff. And actually, I think their lives themselves, especially my mother's life growing up, was something that I think kept her bound. And then by doing so, I think it's my father's shyness that might have kept him, as well as maybe my mother going, hey, if you're not going to pay the fucking rent, you're not playing a fucking bass guitar. It could have been that too. But I think it was a little of everything in that regard. But both of their influences were heavy on me as far as what they listened to and how passionate they were when they listened to it.
Right.
My mother wouldn't just sing. She loved what she was listening to, with Connie Francis on or Barbra Streisand, and singing along with, I remember specifically, Woman in the Moon from Star is Born, and Evergreen, her classic song on that.
Yep.
So there was that, and then, I think that when it comes to my mom, that was like, I would say that that's the heaviest influences, were just her passion for music and the fact that she was supportive of my musical career. Obviously, she never went against it and went, you shouldn't do this, or you shouldn't, my mother was always somebody that just let us grow the way we grew, and they'll figure it out. You know? They weren't so hands-on that they were doing this and making us do stuff. They would just kind of,
let you do your thing.
Let you do your thing. Really figure it out for yourself, because, they both dropped out of high school in 10th grade, my parents. They had no choice. My mother, obviously, to take care of, siblings, and, to do that at home when you have 10, she had 10 kids in her family, and she was the oldest girl.
Wow.
Not the oldest
That's a lot
boy,
of
but the
pressure.
oldest girl.
That's a
Yeah.
lot of pressure.
So it was a lot of pressure, and school just, didn't fit into the play. And for my father, it was the opposite. My father just had no patience. He hated school, He wasn't I don't think he's like me in a lot of ways. I don't think he was a regimented person that just could be told, be here at 6:40, show up at whatever. We're both the kind of people that are like, you tell us to do something, and we're like, fuck you, we're not doing anything. I'll come when I want to come. But, I think that's the dance between the two in that regard. That's the dance.
And then some of his music influences. I read somewhere that he was so diverse with what he listened to. He listened to Billy, Chicago, Black Sabbath. Is that true?
My father listens to everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, my brother was the Black Sabbath guy, so that got me a little mixed
Okay.
up. But that's not to say that right now my father won't go and listen and watch a Black Sabbath. He just appreciated music, and I saw that in the diversity. It was like we had these. He had the old Pinto. We had this blue Pinto, and any car we had. But I remember he had specifically had this Pinto, and my father was a mechanic. He worked for Island Transportation here on the island.
Sure.
And he was a mechanic for them. He fixed their trucks before he started driving for a living. But when he was a mechanic, I mean, what was the original thing? I don't want to lose the original question.
Diversity in Black Sabbath, Chicago.
Yep. So he had 8 tracks, and the 2 specific 8 tracks that I remember were Chicago's Greatest Hits and Elton John's first album. So just a picture of it just said Elton John.
Sure.
Okay. So it was that, and then there was a million other things around that. Then you had your Jim Croce, and my father listened to a lot of country too. He listened to country music too. I wasn't a country fan. When he listened to that shit, I would be like, shut that shit off. But he also loved doo-wop. Okay, so I love doo-wops because we would go out to Valley Stream every once in a while, see my great-grandmother out there. We called her Grandma Stonehouse. And the women inherently in my family outlive every fucking man in the family. They kill them all. So the grandfather had already died like 30 years before. She was still going, like roller skates, But and going out to Valley Stream, my dad would put on doo-wops a lot in the car, and then we'd have fun moments. I was a kid, I was young, but we'd have the fun moments of the Dutch ovens in the car, which were always the funnest thing for me because I was always the worst. Because getting my father to start cursing out loud before he even knew, like,
Sure.
in other words, like I would fart like maybe 5 seconds before. I wouldn't even tell anybody, and I'd be cracking up in the back just waiting for the whatever. And all of a sudden, my father would just go, "You motherfucker!" and roll down the fucking window, and he'd be like, "Son of a bitch," and and I just, we used to get a kick out of it. But all the while doing that whole thing, it was like, farting
to the oldies.
Farting to the oldies, man. It was incredible. So, that was fun, man. Those were, he listened to a lot of different stuff, my dad. I mean, and he loves and appreciates classic rock like nobody's business. So to go from country, if you can go to country to classic rock and even appreciate, he loves it all.
Well,
So,
I'll come back to that in a second,
Yep.
but fun fact in all my research, and I did some good research on you.
Boy.
I watched an interview where you talked about any given morning. You knew it was a good day if your mother was walking down the hallway farting.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. 100%. 100%. Like the song says, which we'll turn back to about exactly why I wrote it. But, being that my mother had the childhood she had, she was a rather rigid mom, like she was just, but not because she wanted to be. She was just still carrying so much, I think, of what she grew up with that she parented. We all parent the best we can. We're given what we're given. Sometimes we suck at it in certain ways, and sometimes we're good at it. We do the best we can, right? So it was that. But yeah, it was either, to be honest, in my house, it was either slamming cabinets or farting down the hallway. There was only two methods for my mother. My mother was mad. You knew about it.
Yeah.
But if she was happy, you knew about it.
Yeah.
And those days were special days because you were like, oh, good, Mom's happy.
It's a good day.
Because you just want her to be happy.
Yeah.
Not because, oh, my God, save me, although that could have come into play too. But it was more like, you just wanted to see your mother happy. When she was happy, it was nothing better. Everybody, you could tell, everyone in the house, all the boys, we would all be happy.
Yeah.
And we'd all be like, all right, it's almost like ride the lightning.
It's a good day.
Let's ride this, let's ride it and go. So, but yeah, she'd get up and I'd be in the other room, be quiet, and it was like a helicopter down the hallway, down the hallway, and I would immediately wake up because and then of course pancakes, ensued after that. You got pancakes and you got a good breakfast just for dealing with it. My mother was never the shy one. Let's just say that.
Mark, so we got some comments here. I want to just jump into them for one second before we come back. So Mark Cordone said, "That's my litmus. If Mom is walking down the hall dropping bombs."
You ain't kidding.
Chris Hannigan says Mike's brother likes Manilow.
Joe. We'll get to Joey. Yeah.
Chris Bates, silent and violent.
Violent. As a kid, yeah. Oh my God, I can't fart anymore. I'm 48. Nothing comes out anymore.
These people are gross. I see some song requests. I don't know if it's going to be that kind of night, but we'll see. But speaking of songs, so I want to talk for 1 second about just the diversity in your music. So what drew me to you, right? And we'll kind of get into as we kind of go down your story when I came in as a fan personally. Okay. But what drew me to your music is not just that you were a Billy Joel cover artist, right? Because to me, that's what that's what attracted me to your music initially, just because I love Billy, right?
Absolutely,
It's the soundtrack to my life. As a Long Island guy, you know it, right?
Absolutely.
And we'll get to that. But then I heard some of your original stuff, and I was like blown away. And when I hear a song like one of my favorite songs of yours is Holy Water, right? Holy Water is so different than a lot of your songs because I hear so many influences. Like I hear like a Josie, and that could be a Billy song, right? That could easily be a Billy song.
Right.
I hear Holy Water could be Soundgarden. It could be Foo Fighters, right?
Right.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. It's so different. And like when you're listening to an album and you sit down and you actually, because I was always a big, like I never bought singles. I bought CDs always when I was younger.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too.
And I started it at track 1 and I'd finish at track 12.
Yes.
And I wanted to learn the B-sides because I didn't want to be like everybody else.
Yeah.
I didn't want, all right,
that's
I'll,
good. Good
I'll
for
learn
you,
that
anyway.
song, but I want the B-sides, right?
Yeah.
So Holy Water, I remember the first time I heard it, I was like, holy shit, this is a killer song. Killer.
Thank you.
Is that something you could do here? Or no, that's more,
yeah,
that's not a guitar
it's
thing.
a
Okay.
yeah. I mean, I
don't have that queued up.
Okay,
but,
I can play a verse or something of it, but it's more of a piano.
It's piano.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
gospel,
we'll share,
almost gospel oriented, and that's
We'll share. We're gonna share a link to that in the live later on. More comments. Look at that. Great originals. I think so too. Great originals. Holy Water is one of my favorites. Marianne Stone.
Thank you, Mary.
Killer song. Killer. So we're talking about music now, right? So you pretty much taught yourself to be a musician, right? You were sort of self-taught.
Yeah, pretty much all self-taught.
All
Except from the beginning. I started playing drums was the first instrument I actually took a lesson on. Billy Dwyer, who was a big influence in my early years to even want to play music. He was my neighbor, lived across the street. He was best friends with my brother John, and he had a band, and they would play in the basement all the time, and I would go by their basement window. That's what got me into, I would just sit by the basement window and watch them play Rush and Zeppelin and Bowie and all kinds of different stuff. They played everything, Sex Pistols, back then, and they jammed there all the time. And I was just this little, I don't know how old I was, probably 9-year-old pain in the ass.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? By the window, can I come in kind of thing, watch, Sooner or later, they let me in to watch, and I was able to go and watch the rehearsals. But I used to watch them from the window, and across the street from them, we had Fat John. That's what we called him. It wasn't an insult. It was a house that wasn't kept well.
Yeah.
Let's just say on the block, it was smelly outside. If you went inside, you'd fall over probably.
Right.
But Big John, man, he had a band, and he played downstairs. He was a drummer also, just like Billy across the street.
Yep.
And he used to sing, too, when he played drums. I'd never seen that. And at that time, I was 9 years old, 8 years old, or whatever, and I was like, and he would do the immigrant song. He would freaking just belt it out. I'm like, and I would just sit there in awe, but you couldn't stay near the house long enough because you die, you fall over.
Yeah.
So, so between them and Billy across the street, Dwyer, and Billy Dwyer was my first drum teacher. So that was the first instrument I actually learned how to read. It's the only instrument I learned how to really read on.
Right.
To read, So it went from that, and then guitar. Guitar came right after. I realized I probably was going to need an instrument to sing with.
Sure.
To write.
So, taught yourself. You had a little neighborhood band, right? I read that, and you entered a talent show in 6th grade.
No, not entered. We had the school. It was the school talent show.
Talent show.
Laddie Decker Elementary School, Miller Place. It was back in the, I don't know, whatever the years were back then, early 80s probably or whatever, or maybe less than that. And I had this guy that lived on the next street next to me. His name was Dennis Capella, and me and Dennis just became good friends because our families, we would play baseball.
Yep.
We had two places we would go on the block, and we would go play games. It would be the Capella Clowns versus the Del Judas Dicks. All right, so we had names for each other, and that was the whatever. And Dennis was like, "Oh, I love Rush. And we would talk about Rush and different bands. I was a big Rush fan, like serious Rush fan. Once I picked up the guitar and bass. Even before that, just from listening to them, and that's what inspired this 6th grade thing. So I had a guitar at that point. My brother John had actually got me a guitar, Westone Raider. It was like the Z-looking guitar with whatever, crystals, that kind of thing. So that electric guitar. And my dad had bought me a 12-string Alvarez, so I had that ready to go. That was like probably one of my first acoustics. was the 12-string Alvarez, and but that was a bitch to tune. So, but we, I got into Rush, and the drummer never played on a real drum set. He only played on garbage cans. So I went over to his house to rehearse. I show up with my little Stage 25 amp, which I still have. It was up in the attic in my brother's house, and with a little MXR, yellow MXR distortion box, that old classic distortion box from MXR. And I learned playing a lot on my own. That was all me listening, sitting to records and figuring it out. And back then, I was probably a better solo player maybe than I even am now. More of an acoustic rhythm player than I am. I walked away from that a lot. But that was it. Rush was it for me. Exit Stage left. I'd have the the vacuum stand when I was even younger than that, and just a make-believe microphone and just playing air guitar and just rocking out to that stuff. So Tom Sawyer was like my favorite tune at the time. So we did Tom Sawyer at the 6th grade talent show. He practiced it on the freaking the cans. Literally, he had 4 different cans set up. We practiced on that, and the first time he ever played on a drum set was live in front of the whole school.
Wow.
So it was me, my friend Mike Ponticelli.
A real drum set, though.
Real drum set. First time on a real drum set.
Okay.
Yeah. And I got to tell you, we sucked. You know what I mean? I'm not going to lie to you. You're playing Rush in 6th grade. You're definitely not playing the right chords at times. You're not playing, you're fucking up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But considering he never played,
not bad, right?
He practiced enough in his mind to be able to sit down and know what he wanted to do at least. And, and my friend Mike Ponticelli, that was his last gig. He was one of my best friends growing up. And he got stage fright, I think. And he was I can't do this. He froze like a deer in the headlights. And then after that.
But you didn't suck so bad, because somehow after that you wound up scamming your principal into letting you perform at field day, right? Is that true?
Yeah, we did. It really wasn't a scam. I did go to his office, and I said, look, can we do it was his idea to do field day. Okay. I'm pretty sure, from what I can remember. And I just went in there and I said, look, because I just got a taste of the audience, and I got a taste of, what playing live could be. And I just walked in and I said, look, I love this. And I was, and he said, well, look, as long as you behave, as long as you don't screw up, he goes, I'll tell you what. He goes, on field day, what if we do something on field day out on the grass? And, and I was like, yes. It was like, because I had asked him, I said, I want to do a concert for the school. What can I do, kind of thing? And he suggested field day. And field day became, for the people in my class anyway, 89, I don't think anybody will forget that.
Right.
Because it's never happened before.
Right.
So I would say we were out on the grass, which is me with a guitar, Dennis Capello playing drums, and of course Billy Dwyer helping us out.
Right.
Like doing sound and mixing for us across the street. So
That
the
must
guy
have
that
been crazy.
influenced me, yeah, really.
That must have been crazy.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah.
Because every Long Island 6th grader has had field day.
Oh,
at
absolutely.
one point or another.
Yeah,
so, all right. So, moved to high school. I read somewhere that you did landscaping like your older brother for a while.
My brother has a landscaping company, still does. Little plug for you, John. Express Lawn Service.
Express Lawn Service. This podcast brought to you by Express Lawn Service.
Yeah, you get free advertising because I'm on the fucking show. Otherwise, you get shit. You got to pay for it. He had that, so I would work with him. Yeah, throughout through the later high school years, I was working with John. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
So
on and off, by the way, because I was, I didn't like doing it.
Were you like gigging at bars during that time?
Probably around the same time. Yeah, I'd started doing piano bar around 17, I think. Yeah, it was probably around 17, my high school senior year, beginning of the senior year, because I only made it through half that year. So
Got it.
It started around him.
So at that point, this is when music becomes serious to you, right?
Absolutely, it was. Yeah.
So I read somewhere, I actually watched an interview. You were on the Today Show in 2014, and you were asked, can you put in words what music means to you? You said, it's the story of my life growing up. It means everything to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could relate to that, man, because for me, listening, the reason I'm enamored by your music, by Billy's music, Aerosmith, all these bands that I love, they tell a story, right?
Yes.
The music that really engages you, it seems to sort of tell that story of your life. You take that song, and I even remember like 7th grade breaking up with the girlfriend that I went out with for 3 days.
Right, and what's amazing is it's the imprints at moments, at special moments. I don't think it's the music that creates those moments. I think we go through crazy moments in our life, and whatever happens to be on in the radio at that moment that we're going through something, whatever music we hear at that moment attaches itself to the moment. And you'll always remember that moment, and you'll always remember that song and get that feeling again when you listen to it.
As horrible as the song might be,
it doesn't matter what it is.
I remember staring at my 7th grade window. I went out with this girl for like 2 days, maybe, and she broke up with me over the phone. We never even kissed or anything. I was heartbroken, right? And I'm staring out the window at like 10 o'clock at night, and I Swear comes on by All For One. Horrific song.
Yeah.
And I'm like at the top of my lungs, belting this out in my parents' house. And my father comes in, opens the door. George, what the fuck are you doing? What is this?
That's great.
So here's where it gets heavy. So by around the year 2000, right? You're trying to be a musician. You are a musician. You're trying to do this professionally to make a living. You had kids at the time, at that point, right? By 2000?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I had kids at that time.
So by around the year 2000, you were living in a trailer in your friend Willie's backyard with your young children, right?
Yes.
So you almost gave up from what I read, and then you heard about the success of a local Dave Matthews cover band is what I read, right?
Yes.
And was that Ants Marching?
Yep.
So now this is where I started following you, right? Because this is now 97. I graduated high school by,
There's
97,
there is a huge spiritual and musical chapter that you
Talk to me.
I don't touch on a lot, but it was from 14 to like 22. That was really what I did with music at that point. I was singing all gospel music. I was in a youth group. I don't really talk about the experience a lot because it's just something that I guess whatever. It's very sensitive, but let's just say I went through something pretty crazy at like 14 years old, and it got me looking into religion real hard, something like that, where I really I needed rescuing from a certain situation.
Okay.
It wasn't drugs, it wasn't nothing like that, but let's just say I had a little bit of a eerie spiritual experience in my house.
Okay.
Growing up.
Okay.
And once that happened, that really changed. That was probably the most life-changing moment ever for me. And I still say that to today. It's still the most life-changing. It went on for about 6 months.
Okay.
And there was some kind of shit going on.
So we don't have to touch on what that is, but this is something that I wanted to talk about is something I talk about in leadership. And I talk about this, man, not because I'm some kind of professional in leadership, right? I own a consulting firm and a marketing agency, and I'm trying to do this half for fun and half to kind of promote some of the stuff I'm doing. But I took this journey too, right, where I sort of got to a certain place in my life where everything fell apart. I thought everything was great, and then within months, days, everything's falling apart, and I kind of had to start over, right? I was at rock bottom, no drugs, nothing like that. I'm at rock bottom, wifeless, empty house, no job, and I kind of had to rebuild, right?
How many times did you do that?
Once. And I'm not trying to beat your record. No.
So I just want to see how broken you really were. I'm like, all right, he's broken enough. He's broken enough.
I was broken, man.
Yeah.
I was broken, and it was the first time in my life. I've always been the kind of guy where I'm that glass is half full kind of guy. I'm gonna go out and get after it. I'm gonna fix that problem. It's the first time in my life where I think I understood depression a little bit. Like I understood what that meant. Yeah. I felt very alone, although I wasn't 100% alone. I felt very alone because I put myself in this place. And so there was a certain point where I had a moment where I was just like, you need to pick yourself up and get the fuck up off the floor because this isn't how your life's going to go, right? This isn't your story. And so for me, that's something I call the spark moment. So these spark moments I've had throughout my life, and especially the last like 9 or 10 years of my life, I kind of realized like, hey, if you can be cognizant of these moments, if you can actually see one and grasp it and go, yeah, this is a pivotal moment.
Absolutely.
Something's about to fucking happen because of this moment. Let's go, let's grasp it. And that's why I drive my wife crazy, because anytime some kind of opportunity comes up, I take it. And she's my biggest supporter with it, but I am this podcast thing. Thing right here.
Yeah.
This was 3 weeks ago. This was a conference room. Right,
Right.
now, this is
And it was
like
it was a thought, and now
a
it's
badass podcast
well,
studio, if I could say
because
so
you,
myself.
because you implement.
Yes,
See, that's the
yes.
difference.
All right, all
see,
right.
that's
I
what I
got
meant.
you.
That's what I meant. You get a great idea, you get it done.
Yeah.
Me, I get a great idea, I got to delegate it to the 5 people that have to take care of it or help, because it always ends up dying as a great idea.
Yeah. And so those spark moments, I promised myself that I would always take advantage of those moments, because I never know where they're going to lead me. Even if it's a bad place, it's like, all right, you know what? We're going to do this. We're going to fail together. But if we succeed, we're all going to succeed together, because I took advantage of this moment. So it's amazing to hear that even though you went through that tough time, there was that spark moment there that took you in a different direction, right?
Yeah. And the death of Doug Stegmeyer was a huge thing in my
Yeah.
life.
Talk about
That happened in 96, 95, actually, August. And, it was the most insane experience, because I got to record a whole album with Doug. Doug is, for anybody that doesn't know, Doug was Billy Joel's bass player most of his career up until that time, couple of years before that. And it was a gospel record. It was a gospel album that I was trying to go mainstream with, but I still hadn't gotten there, as a writer.
Yeah.
And Doug was, and Big Shot, if you really want to know, Big Shot actually started with me, Doug Stegmeyer, and a drummer, Phil Weiss. I said to Doug one day, I said, would you go out and play Billy tunes, whatever? This was just a thought. This was 5 years before Big Shot actually started. And I attribute the idea to whatever, but when I look back at that moment, we were starting that project before Doug passed. Doug ended up passing away. And we did a rehearsal or two at Doug's studio. And Doug always said, I always said I wouldn't play the music again unless it was really done whatever. And, and he was an amazing musician, an amazing bass player. And so I think that was the first time that the bug happened. But the album that I recorded with him was gospel. And then he passed right at the end of the album. And the album had, trust me, we had a rocky road getting that album done. A lot of it was because the record label I was involved in, and Doug at some point he wasn't getting paid, I guess, on time from Doug. I mean, from the record. Doug wasn't getting paid from the record company the way he was supposed to. So we had meetings. Things went kind of bad. But Doug had moved from the house in Centerport and built a whole new studio in Smithtown. So this whole process, we were recording the album during this whole process.
Yeah.
It took 3 years to record this album, because it took him a good year and a half to get the studio built in Smithtown.
Sure.
We did the first 3 songs demo in Centerport in his house, and it was just amazing.
Yeah.
The sound. And he was such an amazing producer, and nobody knows that about him. But that guy could really produce.
Is that where you did Victoria's song?
Yes.
Right.
Yes. And Victoria's song was done there, and that was his favorite tune.
Yeah.
By far. He was like, that's your song on the album, that's your hit. He goes, we got to, and he did an interview one time, and I can't find the damn video, which sickens me. Or I have it, but it's destroyed because old videotapes get old and they don't play. But he did an interview on it, and I remember him saying, the hardest thing was to say, look, Billy's already Billy, Elton's already Elton. We know you can do those guys, but we got to and you could do them when you do them. But when doing your songs, we got to get you to sound like Mike Delguidice. That was his main. Who's Mike Delguidice? How are we going to get that? Because I was so heavily influenced by my influences at that time, especially gospel. I was really gospelly influenced at that point. And there were so many different bands that I could point to in that, or artists, I should say, that I could point to. But that ended up being a big part of it. And we did a couple of rehearsals, and then when Doug actually passed away the day that my daughter was born. And I think, it was incredible. It was unbelievable, because she had been born, or it was the day before or the day after. I always say it's August 24th, because that's my daughter's birthday. But it could have been the 25th, could have been the 23rd. But it was the morning that I was bringing Victoria, my oldest daughter, to go meet her new daughter at the hospital. And she had I remember, never forget, I was sitting at the dinner table, and she had an I'm a Big Sister T-shirt on. And Phil Weiss called me, the drummer, and he just said, he goes, Mike. And he goes, you're sitting, and he just said, Doug's gone. Doug passed away. And it just got, you got to understand what it was for me working with him at that point. He was the biggest thing to me, because he was, I knew who he played with for all those years, and I heard what he could do on tape, and from other bands he had started producing, and I was like, man, this is just the perfect guy to work with. And I would still be working with him today. I can tell you right now.
Wow.
I'd still be working with him. And you know, the album died with him. He died literally before it got released, and he at that point was unpaid by the record label. Okay, they didn't pay him. He actually called me. People always say, do you remember him showing any signs that he was, because he passed away, he committed suicide. And he was in the studio. It happened in the studio. It was tragic as fuck, man. It was like, I wish I could describe the level of emotion at that time, because it was so shocking that, and what happened is Phil had gone there to go record for a session, and, you know, Doug was inside, you know, so they had to call the cops to open up the door. And but I mean, Doug, you have to understand something. He was such a positive musical force in my life.
Sure.
That was it for me. I was like, you know what? Maybe God's trying to tell me something. Maybe I got to take a break for a while and not. And those years were very weird. 95 to 2000 were very weird. I played in Kid Gloves, this band on Long Island, for about a year and a half or so. But nothing dominated me musically. I really was so saddened and disheartened by his death. And the fact that the album never even got put out, and nobody wanted. I don't think anybody wanted to. Doug certainly didn't want it to go out.
Right.
He was clear about that, because, you know, he was a perfectionist.
Yeah, sure.
And he wasn't going to put this thing out unless everything was solid. Yep. He was paid, everything was done, and, you know, and it ended up getting locked up in his estate, so it just never got out. And then I finally, you know, a couple of years ago, 5 years ago, I met up with the Stegmeyer family, and we talked, and we, you know, there were things after all these years and misconceptions and stuff that had happened about his death. And for a lot of years, people were saying, "Oh, my project was the one that killed him." Oh. And meanwhile, I'm not kidding. You know, it came back to me that way, that people thought like, "Oh, it was a negative thing," you know. Not from Doug's part to me. We were. I remember the last conversations and the last things we had a good, you know. But it was a misconception, because it was so sudden when it happened that everybody was just grasping for reasons, grasping for. And me, I was just devastated. I had no money. I was a kid.
Yeah.
I was young still. I had no money. I had nothing. I was relying on the same record label he was to get money. So we were both. You know, he had called me a couple weeks before and just said, you know, hey, you think you can squeeze some out? And I said, they're not even squeezing me, you know, kind of thing. And it was a couple weeks later that it happened. And I found out that morning, like I said, and that was the most bittersweet day of my life, I think, because, you know, I had birth and death all in the same day. And it was, there went my original music career. Yeah. That's what it felt like to me. So I was away from it for a while after that.
So you kind of had to find it again.
Yeah. It really hurt. Yeah.
Wow. So when you found it again, so it's around the time where Ants Marching is out here, a local Dave Matthews cover band, which was huge on Long Island at the time. We used to go out in college, Mulcahy's, wherever, you know, wherever they were playing and watch them. It was, I remember once Big Shot came into the mix, and you guys were out there, our routine was always Big Shot, Ants Marching, and Nerds.
Yeah,
right?
Nerds, yeah.
They were the three bands that were everywhere on Long Island, and no matter where they were, we were out there. I had seen you guys in my college years. I don't even know how many times. Crazy. Okay, wow. It was like a groupie, but I never approached you back then.
That's all right.
So, but over the course of that time, as that happened, you built a good business, man. You spent a solid almost 15 years building that thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So talk about it from a business standpoint. For a decade and a half, what was that strategy? Since we talk leadership and business here, what was that strategy over the course of a decade and a half to build this thing? How did you know that, or once you knew it had legs, what was the strategy to kind of grow it?
You know what? I'm a day by day kind of guy, so I can't say that I had anything particularly in mind. I started the band, and I went to. I had the idea to do the band, and I went to an old friend that I had, Gene Henriksen. He's from that. Now he's in the Van Halen cover band, Completely Unchained. And I had went to him, and you know, at first he wasn't interested in actually doing it, but I let him know that I was going to do it, and, you know, no matter what, I was going to do it. And then he decided, all right, we'll get on board. And then we kind of, you know, we did our first gig at the Village Pub, and it was and it was packed. Yeah. You know, and a lot of that had to do with you know, Gene was really good with promotion. Gene was good at like pushing, but sometimes, you know, too far, but he pushed. But he got, you know, we got that room full. You know, and it started that way. So I can't say that Big Shot suffered the same ills as other bands that didn't. Whatever we right off the bat were pretty successful because of why? Billy Joel.
Billy Joel.
That's it.
Yeah.
So all these people are getting their heads all in a fucking cloud over, I'm this, I'm that, I'm going to go do. It's Billy Joel. It's the brand. That's Billy Joel's brand. Big Shot, has it become a brand now? It has, but still, without Billy Joel, there's no Big Shot.
Yeah.
You got it?
And
So
we'll get to it. You actually later on, after you became a member of Billy's band, you thanked him for all the years of allowing you to do that, and he thanked you for keeping his music alive on the island,
that was
right?
the exact conversation. Yep, I said it first. He responded with that. Yeah.
That's two good guys, man. That's two good guys.
We
right
both
there.
didn't even want to look
Yeah.
at each other. We were like,
Yeah.
oh, thank you.
I'm not crying. You're crying.
Yeah.
So I want to say the natives are getting restless here. You want to play a little something?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
You have anything you want to?
Oh, dude, I'll take anything. I want to hear. Why don't you do your new one?
Yeah.
You want to do that?
Yeah.
Talk about it.
So I have this new song that I've been I haven't put out yet officially, but I've been playing it live on the Facebook Live on the Porch episodes. And the song came across to me as like I wanted to tell a story about, I guess it's like generations. I was looking at generations and how generations go by, and in every generation we have our heroes. We have people that we've looked up to, and all of a sudden we get older and they fade a little bit. And now we are the heroes to the next generation, under us, our kids or whoever, and we hope to not repeat, or we hope to repeat the good and not repeat the bad, and how it's kind of like a comparison, when you look back and you could say, where did the song is called "Where Do the Heroes Go?" And that's because I think we're always asking that in my mind. I look back when I hear a song or I hear whatever, and I think of my father, I thought of my brother, and I said, you know what, I'm just going to put it all into a song. And the main thing was to have a conversation with my son, my boys actually, and then it narrowed down. Started out as for both, and then I was like, you know what, I think this is going in this direction. I'm going to speak to Colby, who was my oldest son, and it was a specific thing that was going on in his life, and I was like, you know what, I want to talk this because we grew up in a broken home. We weren't always together. We weren't, there was a lot of, residual hurt, residual fixing that had to be done, and now we're together. Oddly enough, with his mom, but it was odd, and it was always that sense of like, what am I to him? How does he view me?
Yeah.
Because he's my biggest challenge in that regard, because we didn't live together, right? So it's like, I always wanted to be his hero, but at the same token, I had my heroes, and did they disappoint me? Like some of them, you feel like some may have or may not at different times in your life, but they're just being human.
Yeah, sure.
They're just living their own life, trying to fucking survive.
Sure.
They're trying to breathe every day. So I had this idea to write something to like almost like a letter to my son, and to talk to him, and to let him know, what I've gone through in my life, and to learn from my life lessons, and then me actually talking to him at times also, and kind of like a Cats in the Cradle,
Sure.
Kind of vibe. But it's called "Where Do the Heroes Go?"
Love it.
Hey there, son, let me talk to you. Let me tell you things that I need to teach you. May take some time, please bear with me. Maybe when I tell you, then you'd understand me a little more. Hey there, Daddy, you remember too. Patty's Day Parade, Tyler Avenue. Rocking on your shoulders to the sound of drums. Nearly 7 years old, but every ounce your son. Where do the good ones go? Where do the heroes go? And hey there, Johnny, you remember too. We'd be playing wiffle ball till the sun came through. But when you got older, then you went your way. Johnny, nothing lasts forever but the things we say. Where do the good ones go? Where do the heroes go? But hey there, Joey, guess I never thanked you. When Johnny went away, there was always you. All of those years, you were all I had. But people grow different, Joe, you understand. I'm thinking about Superfly Joe. Where do the heroes go? Hey there, son, let's get back to you.
There we go. That's what happens. Sorry. I get choked up on this part. It's a tough one, this one. I'm talking to him.
Hey there, son, let's get back to you. Where do the heroes go? No, I wasn't there when you were born. I tried to forget it, but the hurt's so strong.
Yeah, I can't do this part. I'm sorry.
Where do the heroes go?
I gave you as much as I could of that. I'm sorry. That was just like,
Wow, man.
no, that part's just
Heavy.
I apologize.
No, please don't apologize.
Yeah.
Wow, heavy. Unbelievable. Yeah. Yeah. Hair standing up. We hear here. Oh, unbelievable. This affects you, man. That's to me, it's a sign of somebody that's it's passionate about what they do, and there's nobody that's going to be better at their job than somebody who really cares that much. You know what I mean? When you put your all into it. When you leaders, man, they kind of they take that story, they take that pain, they take that love, they take that joy, and they kind of pour it all into that work. So
no, that's that line, that verse is a touchy verse. It's a touchy subject, and I just can't seem to get through it a lot of times on that part. So I go blank kind of. And
oh man,
yeah.
Thanks for doing it though.
No, that's okay.
Jeez.
Yeah,
Wow.
Maybe I'll finish the song at the end of the episode when we're
That's
at a
fine.
different place.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, you know what I want to talk about actually? So during that time, and this was kind of a great connection of where I got to know Big Shot. There was the local bars where you guys always perform, local venues. How crazy is it to think back to those days where you were performing at Mulcahy's, right? And now you perform there almost as like a residency, really, right? Like once a month, right? Aren't you there?
Yeah,
like
we've been there. We're like the house band, you should say. I guess you could say.
and
for
the
a long
stage
time.
is named after you, right?
Yeah, they did a.
How crazy is that?
It happened a lot of years ago, and it was a really nice gesture on the club's part. I've known those guys a long time, obviously since the days of Kid Gloves and stuff like that, and doing different work with different bands there and solo work. So, yeah, Mulcahy's has always been it's a special place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're doing your thing, and then October of 2013, this story's been told 100 times, so we don't have to go too deep into it because I'm more interested in your original stuff and what you do out there. But of course, the biggest thing to ever happen to you professionally, October 2013, you were invited to be at the Paramount for rehearsals, right, for Billy Joel's band.
Yes.
By Tommy Burns, right?
That's how I assumed it was in the beginning. So there are a lot of early interviews that you hear where I talk about it, but I think Tommy's clarified to me now that it was Billy's idea. So I guess Billy had it in his mind and just said, hey, I think they were going to get Wade. Wade used to do it, I think, for them, for each tour, Wade Preston. And Tommy had just said to me, would you be interested in doing it? And I guess at that point I didn't realize why he was asking, but maybe my name had come up or something. And it turns out that Billy, BR, and Tommy, Brian Ruggles and Tommy, all, I guess, conspired.
Yeah.
To have me come down, and obviously I obliged. I was very excited to.
And so after a few days of that, it was sort of a whirlwind of you got approached to see if you have a passport, and you were invited to perform with the band internationally, right?
Yeah, it was the day before. It was a Monday night, and it was the day before Billy was supposed to show up. We had started the rehearsals on the Sunday, and then he showed up on a Tuesday. We knew about it, and I guess as the days were creeping up, I was more and more unnerved. Yeah. And I wasn't in good voice, by the way. At that time, I had a polyp actually in my throat, which is another scary moment to talk about. But we had rehearsed for a good 2 weeks with the band, and I had already come off of 3 or 4 big shot shows, and we went right from a big shot show up at Turning Stowe Casino to go right to the Paramount for me to start these rehearsals. So we did the Sunday, we did the full day Monday, and Monday night I was at my house, and Brian Ruggles calls me. Probably one of the first calls I had ever gotten from him. Mm-hmm. And I said, Brian, how are you? He's good. He goes, what did he say to me that night? He just said, so you're gonna do this? We're gonna come. You're gonna do the rehearsals. You excited? Whatever. Yeah, excited. And then it was kind of like I'm trying to think exactly the order, but it was like the day I had gotten to the Paramount that morning, there was a frenzy, and apparently it was obvious that something was already being spoken about, and it was definitely not something I knew about. Mm-hmm. So I wish I really had all 3 of them in the room to just go, which one of you motherfuckers did this? You know what I mean? Like, I wish I could just do that, but I haven't been able to do that yet, and I'll probably get a different story from each of them because they're all so humble, and they're going to want to push it on the other person and be like, no, you did it. But I don't know what it was, but somebody came up to me and just asked the one question, do you know the songs on guitar? That was the question that made me, aside from the passport thing, because you
were rehearsing on piano, right?
Yeah, I was
rehearsing
on piano.
Billy.
I had no idea what would even be the point of me being there. It's stupid. Didn't make any sense. Yeah. I already needs a guy to sound check. That's what I thought. I needs a guy to sound check and rehearse.
And he doesn't like to rehearse.
No.
Right.
He loves the feeling of, like me,
in the moment,
putting out something and singing something, not even knowing if you're gonna whatever. It's because you want to get that excitement you feel, and the more you play a song, the more you practice it, sometimes that feeling goes away if you beat it to death too much. And he was like that, so I thought maybe that's what we're gonna do. Maybe he's gonna get me, but I didn't know. And then all of a sudden, the passport question. You have a passport. And I remember just thinking to myself, well, that's a good question. It's a good question to be asked. I guess that means they want me to go to Europe, Yeah. So immediately I was like, okay. And when they asked me if I knew the guitar parts, knew the songs on guitar, I already knew Tommy is the main guy. They didn't have a second guitar player. They didn't need a fucking second guitar player. That happened back in the 80s. Yeah. Since then, they haven't needed one. Right. Because Tommy is that guy. Right. Tommy just covers it all. Yeah. It wasn't necessary. I didn't realize at that point I was being hired to sing more than I was to play, I think. Sure. You know what I mean? So I didn't know but at that point I didn't know what the hell was going on yet at that moment. Right. So then I got asked about the passport, and I was like, wow, it's yeah. And then I immediately said, yes, I know the songs on guitar. Yeah. There was no way I was going to say no. I was like, I don't care if I had to go. And what I did was the beautiful thing about the way I feel about God and the universe and that kind of stuff and the way things are lined up. I had never played Billy Joel songs on a guitar until the summer before I got asked to do this. And we did a trio gig that whole summer. Yeah. In Freeport, at Bracco's in Freeport. Me, Tommy Burns, Carmine on keyboard. I was just playing acoustic guitar with Tommy. And throughout that, I started singing the songs from the guitar a lot. And I was learning the tunes capoed and all kinds of acoustic just so happens
Sure.
that I'm learning these songs on a capoed acoustic, different positions, different whatever, for the solo gig.
Right.
And now when I get asked, there was no lying really involved. It was like, no, I do know these songs on guitar. I don't know the actual guitar parts on electric or whatever, but I know all the changes, I know all the whatever, and whatever you tell me to play, I'm gonna play.
Right.
You know? So I immediately just said, absolutely, I know,
Right.
I know the stuff. So Billy came that afternoon for lunch. He showed up at lunch, which we knew he was going to show up at lunch, and it was a shit fest. I mean, everybody was there. You know, everybody knew, I guess, he was coming. So when Billy walks in a room, it's an exciting fucking moment. I don't care who you are. And I was hiding. Because I was just nervous. You know, I mean, I knew that stuff was going on. I knew stuff had been talked about. Obviously, I got asked. And right before Billy showed up, I was literally in the back room at the Paramount, working on the tunes that they had on the list for
Sure.
when we walked out there. I knew
Sure.
I was going out there to practice with them.
Yep.
And I was just, what's going on?
Right.
You know? And they put a microphone next to him, you know, like right on the stage, and I was like, oh boy, you know? So I walked out and I grabbed one of the acoustic guitar, and I just started messing around. I started playing Band on the Run. I did the opening lick. And I start singing the song, and then, you know, he starts, you know, I kind of open my eyes, and he's wandering to the piano, and he gets to the piano, and he just starts harmonizing with me. And it was pretty evident right in the moment that it was like, wow.
Right.
There was just a good tone thing. It was just we had similar tones.
Yeah, you do.
We almost create a dissonant. We almost create
You
this
do.
we almost created this crazy frequency issue, because there were moments where it's very close. It's like he's just doubling, you know, it's like a doubling. And it's easy to sound like him more when I actually have him in my ears.
Yeah.
So I have him in one ear and I have me in the other. So it's real. That's the game, is to really match his tone for the night, his cutoffs, his whatever. And at that point, that's what I started to realize in that first rehearsal, that it was, I think this is what they're doing. I think they're trying to get me to, you know. And at that moment, Andy Sashan, bass player, Mark Rivera, they were not on that tour.
Yeah.
Because they were finishing up previous obligations.
Uh-huh.
Because Billy had just come up with the idea, let's go on the road, but they had previous obligations. So, and those two guys were big vocalists as far as harmonies, and so if Billy was going to go on a tour in Europe, it seemed like he was going to be stuck with just really background vocals from just Tommy and Crystal.
Yeah.
You really need the triad.
Sure.
You really need three.
Yeah.
Minimum, you know? So we went out really bare-assed on that tour. And the triad between me, Crystal, and Tommy was absolutely insane.
Well, that doubling of the voice, that was kind of the goal, right?
The goal was to bring it back to the records. Like, he was coming back out. He wanted to make it sound like the records again. And there's so many parts in the 70s when you were recording, even in the 80s, I did it all the time. You just doubled yourself on certain parts.
Yeah.
Two unison notes together to make it fatter,
Strengthen
to make it stronger. And I think he was wanting to go back to the record to get more of a unique, you know, grab that sound that he had, you know, like, and that's what we kind of did. And we you know.
This hits the nail on the head with it, because I've seen Billy at the Garden in this run. I don't know, maybe 5, 6, 7 times. I don't even know. And you guys played 71 last night, right? It was the 71st
show.
71st show, which is incredible. You've said, so there's a school of thought that this doubling of the voice is not from you, but there's a school of thought saying, like, hey, Billy's getting a little older, maybe we need to strengthen the voice. But you have said that he's better than ever now.
Oh, yeah,
I've heard you say that he's better than ever.
We've got the keys are, you know, we dropped a couple of keys for certain songs. It's no
Sure.
secret. But what that did was just it makes a baritone sound like a tenor.
Yeah.
You get it? Because even though we've dropped the songs are now still at the top kind of his range, because he got older. And but there are days where, like, you know, Alexa will come on the gig and we do New York State of Mind in the original key, and he's singing it like a bird.
Yeah.
He's a fucking
She was there
mental
last
case.
night, right?
He's a mental case.
She did a couple of songs
yeah,
last
yeah,
night?
Yeah. But he is. He really is a mental case. It's not, and he's not, I don't say that in a bad way. It's just like,
no, I get it.
He just has this thing of, like, I can't
do it, but he's still got it. Yeah.
Or he doesn't want to even, like, go near it. And then all of a sudden he'll start singing like a Zeppelin tune or something in sound check or something, and you're like, he's got the range. What the hell are you talking about? You know, he's still got it, but he made life easier for himself. But his voice dropped, yes, but it got more full.
Yeah.
So now it's almost like Sinatra, where Sinatra could sing like a note for me that would be really low, but it's at the top of his range, and it sounds like he's belting it. And that's kind of what's happened with Billy dropping the keys. He's still at the top. He's reaching.
He absolutely
which makes it sound big.
Yeah.
And then add the double of a younger sound of him. So I go for more, I'd say, of a 70s, 80s sounding Joel, more of a up in the nose and the head kind of thing, and
and that sound is perfect.
And when you add that together, it's kind of like The Irishman, with the computer graphic image. When you add the younger, trying to go for the younger tone with his natural big tone that he has now.
Yeah.
It adds youth to his voice in a sense at certain
Big
parts,
time.
maybe. And,
Big time.
and I think that was the magic, and I think he heard it.
It
was
is
like,
the
this
magic. I totally geek out over this stuff because it's my same compliment every time I go to that show is that it's, as a fan, right, as an audience member, it's like listening to the album all over again. It's exactly like listening to the album, which for a fan is amazing, right? I've seen other bands where, and nothing against them, but like Counting Crows, right? I love Counting Crows.
He wanders from the melody.
Holy shit.
Yeah,
I remember seeing him at Jones Beach with my wife.
Yeah.
I think they were opening for Maroon 5 or something like that, or whatever. They were and he does Round Here, which is one of my favorite songs of all time.
Great tune, yeah.
Dude, the fucking song lasted 21 minutes, and I was like, he's like sitting on the front of the stage,
Round here,
like on LCD, like just in a hole. He's rocking back and forth, having a seizure, and I'm like,
it was like me before at the end of the song.
Yeah,
just like, hey, where'd it go? I don't know.
But it's like, there's something to be said about, listening to a performance that is almost identical to the album, and then when they take the little liberties and go, you guys go into what songs do you do where you guys go into Zeppelin?
Rock and roll. We
yeah,
go into rock and roll
still,
from
yeah.
You May Be Right.
You May Be Right. Right. Yeah. Then you hear that stuff and you're like, oh shit, now I have a surprise. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, I love that stuff. So, the Launchcast is sponsored today by the Leadership Experience, a coaching masterclass. Intentional, unconventional, thoughtful leadership from keynote speaker, CEO, nonprofit board member, and TEDx executive producer, George Andriopoulos. Hey, that's me. Guys, the music's getting louder and it's epic, which means this is something you shouldn't miss. Registration opens on December 15th and we are beginning January 15th. This music is so loud. That means it's amazing. Join us, theleadershipexp.com for details. You don't want to miss this. I want to give you two quotes I heard, which are very cool to listen to. So September 29, 2002, there was an article in the New York Times by Barbara DeLatner about you. Billy Joel's quote, "A friend called me and told me to listen to this band that was playing on local TV, and I said, that's me. They said, no, it's this band. And they were having a hard time convincing me it wasn't me. It was uncanny." 14 years later, October 18, 2016, Andy Green in Rolling Stone, Billy Joel says, "I got to chat with Mike alone. I know you and your band are working a lot, but I would love for you to come out on the road with us in Europe." Can you imagine those 2 points 14 years apart? Would you ever have imagined that would have happened?
Hell no.
Yeah.
Never. Especially I would have never seen being in his being with him in his band. Maybe because I was a bass player for a while, that if that position had ever opened up, I would go audition for that, because that would be something I just never imagined the singing thing with him, or it just didn't ever came into my mind, or the guitar, or them needing another guitar, because like I said, it was clearly covered. Yeah. So yeah.
So this is what's cool. So same article, right? And this is a great point. We were talking a little bit before about Long Island and kind of being from here. Delguidice's connection to Joel went beyond loving his music. Both grew up in working class Long Island families and learned piano at young ages. Both also broke their noses playing sports, experienced major financial hardship, went bald, saw marriages collapse. I guess, says Mike, that we come from parallel universes. My thought, right, is that a guy that connects with your music connects with Billy music, just like tens of thousands of guys from Long Island and girls from Long Island.
Right.
There's more to that statement, because when you're from New York, specifically Long Island, we're so drawn to your music and his music because those are our parallel universes too. Like, we live those lives too. You know what I mean? Just being from here, it's kind of like your experiences and Billy's like they were sort of our experiences too. You know what I mean? That's kind of why you connect with that song. Okay. Like I remember writing an email, and we'll talk about this in a minute, but I remember writing an email to Tommy, Tom Cavalier, when we wanted you to play at our wedding. Now, I didn't know you yet at that point personally, and I wrote this whole long contrived email about the songs and how much I connect and yada yada, and I talked about how Brenda and Eddie, right? Yeah. And Scenes. I'm Eddie. Like I lived that, man.
We're all Eddie.
Yeah. Like that's why we connect to this music so much.
Because the lyrics are so literal.
Yeah.
They're so literal that it puts you in a place. It takes you to a place. And yeah.
And yours are the same, honestly. Like I listen to Miller Place, and that could be a Billy album. Totally. Not comparing the artists. It's just like
a very early one.
Same.
Very early.
Yeah, very early. Yeah.
Before he, you know.
So you good on time? We're a little over.
Yeah,
you good?
I'm good.
Let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. Just do a couple of.
Yeah, take some.
Going to see Billy first time in February. Look at Tom. Tom, he's sending emojis everywhere. Nice job, man.
There you go, Tom.
Squinting on his phone there. Yeah. Dennis Farrell, jelly equals jealous. What is your range? Oh, Tom, play Mona Lisa. Yeah, man. We'll actually play that a video. We'll simulcast that. Oh man, your fans are crazy, man. All right.
Oh, they are. What are they saying? Like, yeah, you can say it.
Oh, until the end, somebody's asking for.
Yeah, I'll do that before.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
good.
Absolutely.
August 2015, you open for Billy at the Coliseum.
Yeah.
That must have been a sick moment.
That was incredible.
Kevin James is in the crowd, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kevin James came out that night to Miami 2017.
Yes.
He's a nut job.
He's unbelievably funny.
Yeah.
Crazy funny. That night he was crazy funny that night. Yeah.
So long story short, he winds up texting you, looking for a theme for his then the new CBS show Kevin Can Wait. You sent over Ordinary Guy.
Yes.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Bada bing, bada boom.
That's it. 15 minutes later, I got a text back saying, love it, absolutely love it. Everybody loves it. Became the show's official theme. Unreal.
Yeah. I mean, I was so glad that somebody finally asked me to do anything. I was, anybody on that level. And of course, you're always going to jump at anything. But there was only one song in my mind. Actually, there was two, and I had I'll do a little demonstration.
Yeah.
But originally, the song was written on guitar. It wasn't on piano. We added the piano at the end, and there was it was supposed to be more of like a ZZ,
Piano totally jazzes it up.
Yeah, the
right?
piano made it the real pop thing. This would have made it more bluesy, more whatever. And we tried it. I don't want no ordinary. And I was like, you know what? It needs something behind the guitar or something. And it ended up taking over the guitar. There's acoustic guitar under it, but the piano is like the main riff. And then we added the clicks.
Yeah.
We added some finger snaps and whatever. But the reason I was excited about that tune was because I thought it sucked. And I really did. It was one of probably from start to finish, I'm saying, it's not a good song. You know what I mean? It's just not a radio, whatever. But it had fun parts. And for a sitcom or for a movie, all you need is a good part.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I was thinking in my head. So I knew that.
Yeah.
I heard that behind like the beginning of like rolling credits. I saw credits and I was like, this is the song.
It's exactly that.
This is what it needed, right? So I sent him that, and the lyrics too were very. I think they portrayed what he wanted to really portray as, that. You know what I mean? Like that. This is the image we're going for my character on the show, and I think it worked. He said he played it for the crew, and then he played it for his wife. And his wife, it sold right there because his wife was like, "That's the song."
Yeah.
They really liked it. There was one other I was going to pitch, and it was a song called "No Place Like Home." I thought that might have worked too, which is I got Ordinary Guy stuck in my head. I don't do any of these songs anymore. It's like home. You don't need. Yeah, it's hard. I'll get back to it. But when it jumps back into my mind, but it's like
just jump right in.
Ain't no place like home. again, it's a word issue. I haven't sang it in a while, but it's you know, it was definitely more of like that same kind of thing where it was like had some fun parts, and it didn't quite make it to the grade like Ordinary Guy did. Ordinary Guy in my head was like, I think this is the one.
That was it.
It really felt like that was going to be it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's great.
Oh yeah.
You don't have to be heartbreak romancer, and your money make your car go a little faster. Fly an airplane or Uber to Rome. Oh, but there ain't no place like home. And I thought that could have worked maybe for a catchy little chorus riff would have worked for a show like that too. But
This was the one.
this was the one.
For sure.
Yeah, it was no
Without
doubt
a
about
doubt.
it. It was no doubt about it.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Let's jump off music for a second. We'll hop back. So you talked about fatherhood before. You got emotional with the song you were singing. So 4 kids,
Yeah.
divorced a couple of times,
Yes.
right?
Similar track record to Billy. We're close. It's we're both.
Listen to me.
Yeah.
Don't try and break any records. You hear me?
No records being broken.
I'm done.
No records, Audie. No records, Audie.
Talk about before and after the success, and as far as being a father, being a husband, being the man in your family. Talk about being that leader in your family. What does that mean to you? I mean, you touched on it a little bit with that song. I see, the little bit that I know you personally, and then watching all your lives and your posts and everything like that. Your family's everything to you.
Yes.
I see it.
Yep.
Your family's everything
Absolutely.
to you. But talk about how much it means to you to be a leader in your family.
Well, it's such a it's one thing to have a business and have guys under you as you would know, and to make sure they're taken care of. And there's a sense of responsibility that obviously comes with running a business and running any kind of organization. But when it comes to your family, it's a moral obligation that I think it's just instinctive into parents and into men and women to just want to do the best you can to not do all the things that your parents did to you in a way that pissed you off, but you want to take the good and you want to inject that into your children. You want to make sure that obviously they're making right decisions, or obviously whatever. But it's a role that I take so damn serious, with my family, that maybe I'm too serious for my own good sometimes. That's because you always want better for your children than you want for yourself.
Yeah.
That's just something that's inherent in every parent, and you want better for them. And a lot of times what that would mean in some situations would be that, well, we should push them in the things that society says that we should push them in, and we should whatever. And I can tell you now that we are not that fucking family.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
We're not you gotta go to school, we're not that family. We're about passion. Our family's about I push my kids about passion.
Yeah.
If you don't love what you're doing, don't do it. Don't waste my time, my money. Don't waste yours. More importantly,
You have to push what you know.
What
and
you know.
know passion.
I know passion. Yeah, and I know how long it may take to get them there, because it took me that long.
Yeah.
And that scares the shit out of me, because I know a lot of things could go wrong, like along
Yeah.
the way, and things could go bad, and they can go south. And as a parent, that's the one thing you're scared of the most, and that letting go aspect of your children. And that's what I've seen from them when they were younger. It was like I had more control, of what happened to them.
Yeah.
But as they get older, you don't have that same control.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden they're making their own decisions, their own choices that you might not have made for them, or you might not have even wanted to push them in. And then you're caught in that conundrum of support and love to what they're doing, as opposed as a parent. And it's like the whole thing. People say, how can God be omniscient and know everything? Well, it's pretty easy. He's in a fucking helicopter and he sees every goddamn thing that I can't see. That's how he's good at everything.
Yeah.
He sees it all from a different perspective. We as parents see the same thing. We see it. Like, we've been there already. We've done it. Oh, don't do that. We're always looking to fix and whatever. But the truth is, would we be who we are if we didn't fucking fall over that chair, or if we didn't screw up, or if we didn't whatever? So it's I think it's finding the fine line between allowing fuck ups, and what I've always said is I allow my children to live and learn their own mistakes until I'm there to catch them.
Yeah.
Because it's inherent that I'm going to have to.
Yes.
At some point, they're going to fuck up,
Yeah.
like I did. and they're going to think that their idea is the greatest thing in the world when they're younger, and all of a sudden it's going to cause them something that might, and I'm just there to go, no.
That's it.
Nope. Here you go. Back up. Try again.
I'll tell you something. My daughter, I have two little ones. My daughter's 11, my son's 9. Same thing, divorced home. Very young though, right?
Yeah.
So I was able to figure my shit out when they were very, very young and become the father that I always knew I could be, right?
Yeah.
And so my son is the clone of his mother, right? He's got a big heart. He's very easygoing kid. My daughter is my clone, right? She's my clone.
Yeah.
She could be very difficult. She's a smart kid. She could be very difficult. And so she's at that age now where she's going through some stuff every once in a while, and she'll push back. And my line to her is always like, you could push as hard as you want. I'm never, ever giving up on you. I'm right here.
Yeah.
We are all right here for you. Keep pushing.
Yep.
Don't worry. I'm not going anywhere,
Yep.
You talked about the falls, right? Do you share those falls with them, your falls?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm in agreement.
Oh yeah. Because they're looking to us. We're the it's the whole God complex thing. Whereas it happens to people that are in churches. I know I went through the church, and it's like you view your pastor, but you view your pastor almost as if you view your parents, right? Everything is channeled through how you grew up and how you were raised, and we often compare. Wrongly, we compare our parents to we equate them to God. So what they must think is how God must think, right?
Sure.
And it's a similar thing, and that's what I never want to happen with my children. I don't want them to ever think that I'm lording anything over them or making them whatever. But at the same token, there are times as a parent where you gotta be firm.
Yeah.
You gotta be whatever. It's riding that train. It's a fine line there with that.
I think as a leader in the family, right? I look at the leadership in my life in 3 different aspects, right? One is at home, one is at work, and one's in my community. All very important to me. And we'll talk about later when those kind of all came together. But at home, the route I took is that I went through some shit, man. I went through the mud for a long time, self-inflicted. And so I share that all with them because
you have to.
I want them to know that dad was never perfect. Because sometimes when you're a certain age, you look at your dad and you're like,
that's what I was kind of getting at there. Is that you got to give them an example of humanity.
Yes.
You can't just think that they can't just look at you like a hero, because what happens? Where do the heroes go?
Yeah.
That's what happens. You get it?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, where the fuck is my hero? And the reason you have that hero is because your expectation was too high.
Yeah.
But we don't have to set the expectation too high with our children if we're just honest with them. Because that's what they really need the most. They're looking to you for everything. They're looking to you for every answer, for every whatever. And if you could teach them how to fail, not tell them how to fail.
Yeah.
They're going to fail anyway.
Yeah.
At times, and that's how they learn. But if you could teach them that that's okay, that's part of the process.
Yeah.
If you don't fail, you don't get up the next step. You never get up the next step if you're not willing to fail. You got to be willing to fuck up.
Yep.
It's,
Completely agreed.
Yeah.
Completely agreed. Yeah, that's heavy, man. It makes me very emotional talking about that stuff because it becomes such a mush at this point with anything to do with my kids.
Are you going to forget what you're saying too now?
I
Is
am
that
gonna
where
forget what
we're
I'm
going?
saying. Yeah. Get the beers
I'm
out.
going to smack you through now. You're going to say you should have slapped me in the head when I was about to cry. Just,
So last night we talked about it. Last night was number 71. I have been fortunate enough to see you do this many times, but you have your moment during every Madison Square Garden concert with Billy where you perform Nessa and Dorma. It's so huge, man. I tell you right now, my wife melts. Stay away. My wife melts every time she sees you perform that song. She's a pianist herself, and she loves that type of music and sound. But
Did you say she's a penis herself?
She's a pianist, yes.
Oh.
She's
How
a
do you
pianist.
talk about your wife like that, you fucking sick maniac?
I want to play a clip of this because it's so powerful, and then we'll talk about it for a second. So we have this here. We gotta have it. This isn't as smooth as some other shows, man, but it's not too shabby.
Oh, you kidding me? It
Not
should
too
not be.
shabby.
It should not be smooth, and it should not be shabby.
Here we go.
Nessun dorma, nessun dorma, tu pure principessa principessa nella tua fredda stanza. Guardi le stelle che tremano d'amore e di speranza. Ma il mio mistero è chiuso a me. Il nome mio nessuno saprà. No, no, sulla tua bocca lo dirò. Quando la luce splenderà ed il mio bacio scioglierà il silenzio che ci fa mia. Di leguanotte tramontata stelle, all'alba vincerò, vincerò.
It's terrifying to watch. It's terrifying.
It's powerful, man. It's powerful. It's one of my favorite moments of every one of those shows.
Thank you.
I looked at first of all, how did you learn that song? Is that something you just?
Yeah, I saw Michael Bolton do it on Oprah Winfrey. That's what started me off. And I was like, wow, a pop singer doing an opera song. And I was like, opera, which made sense to me.
Sure.
Because what I never liked about opera was the rigidity.
Yeah.
It was just fucking rigid. Everything had to be everything. No dynamics. Pavarotti was one of the first ones to me that introduced a lot of dynamics into, like, he would do that part,
Yeah.
and go into a big,
Which isn't typical.
not typical, right? Most of the guys would go splendida, it's like, come
yeah.
on already, you're blowing your load all over the fucking song, So I think it was, I like the popper approach because you get to have your own voice in it too.
Yeah.
It could be me, and then all of a sudden, when I need to go opera, I'll go on the bigger notes, the money notes.
Yeah.
But not on the stuff that's needs to also sound sweet and sound.
Sure.
And so I think that's why I always fell short in opera. Was I was like, I can only handle about 10 minutes listening to it before the fat lady sings. And it's all over.
Crazy lyrics on this. I ran these through a translator.
No sleep.
Do you know what they?
No sleep. No sleep.
Nobody shall sleep. Nobody shall sleep. Yada yada. My secret.
It sounds like me.
It
It sounds like me at home. No sleep.
Yeah.
No sleep.
No sleep till Brooklyn. And then Vanish O Night at the end. Set stars at dawn. I will win. I will win. I will win. That's crazy.
Vincero, I will win.
Yeah.
It's
crazy.
Let me tell you something. I don't think I've watched any song more or renditions of any more song on the internet than I ever did with Desson Dorma.
Yeah.
I was entrenched in it. So I just said to myself, you know what? I haven't sang classical since high school. Let me fuck around with it. You know what I mean? So I went in my studio. It took me, I'd say I had to really sing it for a good 3 weeks to get that muscle back, that operatic muscle. 'Cause,
Sure.
it's easy to sing a Journey high C.
Sure.
Or a high B because it's a different kind of voice.
Yeah.
But when you're doing opera and you got to do a high B or a high A or anything like that, it's frightening.
Yeah,
because
I'm sure
it's all you can't, you psych yourself. There've been nights I almost shit the bed,
So another leadership question here. Is it strange, and this says a lot about you, I think, but is it a strange dynamic shift to be every other day of the year the guy, the front man by day, and then you go into that Billy Joel band Alter Ego once a month as a backup vocalist for one of your musical heroes. Is that fucking nuts for you?
It's probably the best, one of the best questions you could ask, because it's definitely it's puzzling. I don't know how to describe it. And people always say, you know, like, oh, look, he's so humble. He goes back and he plays bouquets. You have to understand something. They're two different gigs.
Yeah.
So that the Long Island Mike gig is the only gig I really know.
Yeah.
This came along after.
Yeah.
I'm real good at working for people. I can, you know, I could be a good employee as long as you're not a prick and you're not talking down to me, and I'll slap you. But if you know what I mean? Like, but Billy's not like that, and the situation is so different. So one day the responsibility is completely on me.
Yeah.
So people say, what gig is hard? I've had people ask me, what gig is harder, or what gig is my gig? Way harder.
Yeah.
And people go, how could you say that? You're only playing in front of 1,000 as opposed to 50, you know, at a stadium. And I'm like, because it's not on my fucking shoulders.
Yeah.
All I got to do is show up and be there for the boss. You know what I mean? And do what I'm supposed to do. And it's different being the hired hand. Your responsibility gets limited down to just what you really need to do.
Yep.
And that's what you're there for. And from a boss's standpoint, that's what I want my guys there for.
Yeah.
I want my guys there just to do their job, smile, be happy you're there, show everyone you're happy.
Yep.
And if you got any problems and you're going to be a jerk, shut the fuck up and go home. You know, and I'm sure Billy feels the same way. He just wants support around him. So for me to play support act is a really beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And I'm doing it to somebody who is like, he's my musical father.
Yeah.
And in a lot of ways, he is like my real father.
Yeah.
And I got to say that. And I think that that's what's gotten confusing to me not confusing, but actually it was an affirming thing for me. You know what I mean? It was like an affirmation of just like, wow, God has me around certain people, a certain, you know, like for instance, I've been married, or I'm around a ton of Virgos, right? Why is it? You know?
Yeah.
What do we, whatever. And when I look at Billy and I look at my father, they're both gentle people.
Yeah.
They're both not ever looking, they're non-confrontational. They don't want to fight. They don't want to argue. They're very peaceful until you push. And I think that to me has been a huge thing. I've also learned from Billy a lot, you know, that how he handles things, and but I also noticed that we're just naturally a lot alike in that way, is that we both don't want to be the bad guy, the bad boss, the overseeing, you know, belligerent, you know, talking down and condescending, and Billy's not like he's just a gem to work for.
Yeah,
so
that's great.
In finishing that, it's just that to work for him is a joy. And to help and to be there and to be staring at him at moments in the night and having conversations in our brain.
Yeah.
You can imagine what the fuck that's like coming from where I come from. So yeah, no,
it's almost like
it's unbelievable.
The ego's not even. It's not even that the ego goes away. The ego's not even there.
It's not even there.
It's not even there.
Never has been.
It's a totally.
He would never have
connection.
somebody like me in his band if his ego was there. You understand it?
I love that. Yeah. You got to surround yourself with those kind of people, man.
He's
so there's I want to get into Mona Lisa in a little bit, but leading up to Mona Lisa, there's a song, especially for the people that come see you in concert and watch your live from the porches, which if you are not, by the way, if you're not a fan of Mike on social media, I'm going to throw that out there now. You have to follow Mike. I'm going to put all the links in the comments below after this is over and we share it. You got to follow it. Mike does this thing every so often, and he's actually taken it to the stage a little bit too. He does his live from the porch, where he's in parts unknown, living in a secluded, gorgeous house, right? And he goes into a studio and he plays like anywhere from like a 2 to 5 hour concert for all his fans who are getting their money's worth because it's free. And one song to me that's just right now, it's linked to you in so many ways. Maybe it's just for me, but Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah, right?
Yeah.
Man, so I'm gonna play a moment that I had with you here, and I'm gonna paint the picture for the audience. So I was married a year and a half ago. I got married to my wonderful wife Colleen, and I met Colleen because I knew her sister before her. So the long and short of it is
How good did you know her?
So we were younger sister. No, stop it. So
I had to. Come on, you walked into that one. Go ahead. All right.
Colleen's younger sister, much younger. Colleen's younger sister, baby sister, and Colleen and their other sister. We all went to the same martial arts school together. Me as a hobby.
So you could kick each other's ass if
So we
anybody
can
got
kick each
out of
other's
line.
asses, right?
That's awesome.
So I met her sister Shannon there, and it's a crazy day to be talking about this right now, but I met her sister Shannon there. I didn't know Colleen yet. A couple of years after I met her, we found out that Shannon had gotten sick. And so she got sick. Myself and a few of our mutual friends, we started a nonprofit called Shannon's Fight to aid Shannon and people like Shannon, other kids like Shannon who were sick. And so that relationship with Shannon brought me my relationship with Colleen.
And now I feel like shit.
And now you feel like shit.
Thanks.
Wah, wah, wah. And so,
There goes my joke.
Unfortunately, a couple of years after all this went down, we lost Shannon a couple of years later to cancer.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. And so years later, Colleen and I get married, and we wanted to honor Shannon at our wedding. And the first biggest honor for this was we had the privilege of having you and Big Shot perform at our wedding, which was probably one of the most unforgettable experiences of my life, man. You literally made it the best wedding in the history of weddings, not just because we had this big name band, but because you saw it, man. You felt it.
It was unbelievable.
You look out in that audience, and it was just love, man.
It was.
It was all love. Every single person in that room, and I want you to know you did that. I will never forget that.
I'll never forget it.
You did that. And so I want to play a moment here. We wanted to honor, as I'm getting teary-eyed now, we wanted to honor Shannon at the wedding and have a special moment for her. There was a song, Hallelujah, that after she passed away that meant a lot to us. I made a video that played at her wake and funeral to that, and it just always jumped out at us, right? And so Shannon's favorite color was purple, so we turned all the lights down. We had the purple lights on in there. We made a purple drink called Purple Rain that we passed out to everybody, and we had you play. So I actually want to cue this up real quick. So
you have the video from the wedding?
I do.
Oh my goodness, that's great.
It's a shitty quality because I think.
Of course, if I'm on it, it's shitty.
I think I recorded this off of the TV, but here we go.
So we wanted to thank everybody for coming, and we wanted to take a moment here to honor somebody who is not with us tonight, and somebody who kind of made all this happen. So we want to take a moment to honor Shannon Sirks tonight. So we want everybody to raise up their glass. Right, we have the Purple Rain, with a special drink we have made for Shannon tonight.
God, look at that belly.
So everybody raise your glass with a toast. It's going to be a celebration for Shannon. I can't believe we're singing a big shot right now. And Mike is going to do a special song that we want for Shannon. So everybody raise your glass. Toast to Shannon.
I'm only gonna play a little bit of this because I want you to see what's going on in the crowd as they get over.
David may not please no more. You don't really care for music, do ya? Goes like this, the fourth, the fifth, minor fall, major lift, back for king, composing hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah.
Great.
Your faith was strong, but you needed proof. Saw her babe on the roof, beauty in the moonlight overthrew her. She tied you to a kitchen chair. She broke your throne, she cut your hair, broke your ribs, she drew. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah.
This is such a special moment for us. Such a special moment. But I want to also say that, and we'll get to the Mona Lisa thing in a second, but this song for me, every time I hear you sing it, it's so special. Not just because of that, but because of you had that Miller Place performance where you did it with your daughter too, which was huge.
Oh yeah.
Do you want me to cue it up or?
Sure, if you want. I mean, you know what? If you could do the studio version that we did on YouTube, that was that's the first song we ever recorded together.
I'll put the link
for that.
I'll put the link up afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So powerful, man.
Yeah,
really
yeah.
powerful.
She
song.
She just sings the hell out of it, and I find myself singing her version of it now. So I don't even know what the original version is. I just kind of do it the way I've heard her do it, because she just has such a unique approach.
She's good
to certain parts of it, you know.
And I gotta admit this. I regretted it, even though I don't, because we pictured it. We wanted your voice singing that at the wedding. Tommy actually asked us if we wanted to invite Samantha to come to the wedding, and I was like, you know what, we want Mike to do it. I would love to do it, but
you know what I mean. I'm glad because you know what, it started me off singing it now.
Yeah.
I wouldn't sing it before because it was kind of like, hey,
so
it's Sam's song,
it,
so you know.
Yeah, I'm so happy. So that jumps us into Mona Lisa. Dude, probably, I keep saying this, one of my favorite songs, but Mona Lisa was one of our wedding songs. The song, first of all, is incredible. Incredible. I think one of the most powerful songs that I've ever heard of yours.
Thank you.
And the one where I go, yeah, man, if any of these is going to be the monster hit, this is it, right? This is it. I'll play a little bit of it, and we'll talk about how this is actually a thing. Yeah.
You are my sanctuary, my Mona Lisa. You always had my heart, even when we were young. You always ease my worry with just one look I found. So past the complication, it seems so easy. We shared our old religion. The walls are crumbling down. There was no damn good reason for why we let love down. I'm on your inside now. You're in my lost now found. You make me get so high, I'll never touch the ground.
Real song. I'll post a link to that as well on YouTube. And guys, you could actually just hop on Mike Delguidice's YouTube channel. All of this is on there. All of it, except my wedding video. But if you want, you can put that on there too. Yeah, man, such a powerful song. One of the memories from our wedding that I'll never forget is you sang that, and you said this to us afterwards, is that it was like we were the only two people in the room.
100%.
Man, we were so in there, and then that powerful, that crescendo where you go, you are my sanctuary, my Mona Lisa baby, you are my solitary. I'll never forget my wife just singing that, like screaming it into my
chills.
face.
You give me chills.
Oh, dude.
I don't get chills from my own shit,
Unbelievable.
but you're giving me them. So.
But that music video, what the fuck, man? Kevin James on your music video.
Yeah.
Who are you? How are you even here right now? I don't even understand why you're in my office.
Well, I would be here anyway. You're a fucking sweet man. I'll tell you that.
My friend.
But the truth is, I think we all know the industry has just changed. You know, like it's hard to get that career as a singer songwriter anymore. A career, you know. But no, that song that video was that was all Kevin's. That was all Kevin's idea. I mean, what happened was we had come to the end of Kevin Can Wait, right? We didn't know whether or not he was getting the next season. So there was downtime, and with Kevin, downtime is not something that he likes. And he loves it, but he gets creative in those moments, and he's one of the most spontaneous people when it comes to business. And he was trying to incorporate music into his live act, into his stand-up act, thinking how he could do it comically and whatever. And I didn't seem to work in that because a lot of my stuff's just too damn serious, and it's just too damn whatever. So we were just sitting in his office, and he literally we were kind of just all sitting there going, all right, well, if we're not going to do the live thing, what can we do? And I remember just sitting there going, all right, I got one gun in the bullet right now. You know, it's a new one. it's fresh, so I'm going to perform it well for him because it's fresh for me. And it's one that I really am proud of. And I was like, you know what? I go, Kevin, I got a song. Just listen to this. And he had his keyboard set up in the middle of the room. And there's a bunch of people from production and his production in there and whatever else. And I was sweating. I was like, oh, God, here we go. So let me play this for him. So I just start doing the song. What I usually do. I close my eyes for about 4 minutes. And I got to the You Are My Sanctuary, with the part you're talking about. And I got almost through that part when I finally opened my eyes, and at that point Kevin was already pacing.
Yeah.
And I mean pacing. And I got done with the song and he just goes, "Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?" And he's on the phone within like 5 minutes calling a video crew. He's like, "We gotta make a video of that song. We gotta do a video of that song." And it was just, and it was the weather outside was snowing, and he had all these ideas in his head for it. Just couldn't have went. But I mean, I literally took the gamble and just sang it like that in the office, and people from Sony were there, and people were coming. He was like, "Listen to this song." You had people coming in and out to hear, But that was the moment, and Kevin's. I'll tell you this, man. So much time had passed in between shoots that I kind of thought at times maybe wasn't ever gonna go anywhere or get done because he's busy, And man, he's just a man of his word. And when he did it, he did it 100%. He did it 100. He hired a great video crew, a great producer to come in and do it. He hired Tony from Dancing with the Stars to help him. And I think what happened when ready? So this is an interesting story, but it'll be quick. But I got done with the song, and then we started talking about what should we do with it, right? And I know he was already, we got to make a video. But he had scheduled Fallon. Fallon was coming up. And he had that scheduled. All right, now you're going to look at maybe one of the stupidest people on the planet right now, okay? Or maybe smart in the future. We'll wait to see if that even pans out, all right? But he was so excited about it. And this is how Kevin is in the moment. He's like, "Okay, get you on Fallon. We'll do it on Fallon."
Yeah.
Now, there was no video yet for me to, like what you're looking at right now. It was just basically his idea and then my response. You understand?
Yep.
So here I am now for 20 minutes talking him out of it. And I'm literally, and he's looking at me going, "Are you looking at me as if to say, you crazy? You could go on Fallon or whatever." But to me, at the time, it was hyped up. He was the guest. I wasn't the guest.
Right.
Which meant that somehow he would have to be, he would get involved in it live in some kind of, to me, I thought, at least in my head, in a comical way. This might be my first single that actually gets nationally released in such a forceful way.
Yep.
And I just didn't want it to be satire.
Yeah.
So my first thing, because I was like, well, I just said to him, I think the conversation was something like, and it was uncomfortable for a few minutes, but he's such a down-to-earth guy that he's a down-to-earth dude. So there's no doubt that he was going to be sensitive to the situation. But I said, well, if we do it on Fallon though, and you're the guest, I'm not the guest. I don't feel good about it. I don't feel right about it.
Yep.
Are you going to do some kind of comedy thing behind me, or are you going to be dancing with Fallon, or I didn't know what he was going to do to make it part of his show or his feat, his appearance. So I kind of fought against that a little bit, and I went against the grain. And even with the video, I had said to him, I said, he just took from that conversation, he took my sentiment, which was just, let's keep this. I want to keep this serious because I think, you're so used to doing like comedic roles, that, is it possible that we can make this like a literally like a serious music video, and that and he totally looked like, at first he was like looking at me as if to say, this idiot's trying to talk me out of doing this, Fallon. How would anybody talk me out of going on Jimmy Fallon playing? But to me, it wasn't ready yet. It was like a turkey that looked great on the outside and just wasn't cooked yet.
Yeah,
You're gonna bite into it.
I totally get it. I'm kind of the same way with my work. When it's like, when you're not ready for it, you're not ready for it.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and it ended up going where he ended up taking the video so seriously. Like, he totally went from maybe not even agreeing with me at first or thinking, "What are you, nuts?" to really embracing what I wanted from the video. And he just delivered. It was like, to see Kevin did, like I said, he got Tony from Dancing with the Stars. He took it seriously. He really took it, and he loves dance. Kevin, I know he does a lot of, funny dance, interpretive dance.
He does.
But he really appreciates and loves dance.
I watch him on all the social media posts. He's always doing some kind of crazy dancing.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. So, all right, we're winding down here. I wanna do a couple of things with you, and then offer you if you want to do one last song.
Sure.
Totally up to you.
Okay.
One question I have before we hop into the final things, right? Totally unrelated or related to music. Do you have what does balance mean to you?
Balance means I wouldn't know what balance means. I wish
Do you operate in the chaos and not the balance?
Yes.
But it works for you.
Yes, it does. It does. Even though I will reach the point of critical mass, and I will explode at times in myself, even for myself, and I'll get physically ill from carrying it all.
Yep.
Balance to me is making sure that everyone loves each other.
Okay.
Around me.
That's strong.
That's to me, making sure that all of my kids and my family and that everyone is taken care of. That's balance.
That's strong.
And if I can do that, and if I can be a part of that, I'm really grateful to God for that, because I came from a time when I didn't have money. I was, like I told you, living in a trailer most of my life. I didn't have much. I was doing piano bar gigs. So the fact that I'm able to even help my family in any way is a really huge part of the balance.
Yeah.
Because I think it was seesawed this way
Sure.
for a long time. And money, not that money matters, but it does in certain ways, because you want to be there for your family, and you want to whatever. And as you start to make money, you help them more, or you do more, and you give more. And you know what giving is? It's addicting.
Yeah.
You give.
Oh my God.
The feeling of giving there's nothing better than the feeling of giving. And if you're ever in a down spot in your life, or you're ever in a bad, shitty spot, it's probably because you got selfish in some way, or you took the eye off the ball. It could happen to anybody. And at some points, we have to always get back to thinking of other people first.
Right.
And I think it's that giving thing, and it's that balance of love, and just making sure that everyone feels loved. Nobody feels left out. Nobody feels whatever. That creates the right soup for me. That's the balance. But you do realize that people have free will, and there's sometimes that you just cannot do anything about it. There's nothing you can do.
Right.
There are going to be blow-ups. There are going to be fights. There are going to be whatever.
It's part of the journey.
It's part of what?
It's totally part of the journey. Yeah.
But when you feel responsible as a parent, or that's tough, because then you're like, oh shit, what can I do? And a lot of times, sometimes there's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
But to pray for that and to keep that would be the balance for me.
I found that with leadership for me, and I always tie things back to leadership, because it's kind of how I equate myself as a man today, right? Compared to who I used to be, somebody that just cared about himself. And so, working on leadership in my home life and in my work life and in my community separately was really important to kind of getting back to this person. But then there was a point where I was running myself ragged, right? Like it was like you had these personas, right? Like you're one person here, one person there. And then there was a point where I kind of realized that this authentic person that I had become, me. I was finally, I looked for
me.
I looked for, it took me honestly almost 35 years to kind of go, oh yeah, that's George, like that's who that guy is.
Right.
I wasn't trying to be somebody else. Right.
No,
and when I brought that authentic leadership and that balance where every part of my life became a part of each other, right? Like I thought about my home life when I was at work. I thought about my work life when I was at home. I always
and how it
thinking
all
about
ties together.
And how it all ties together. When I got that balance, dude, it was crazy. It was almost like fucking Luke Skywalker learning the Force, right? It was like, you're like, oh, yeah. This is it. You're like in the Matrix dodging bullets.
Oh,
You're like, you kind of like understand it, and then it opens you up for like all these different things. Like you talked about giving, right? I talked to somebody recently who talked a lot about being a servant leader. You could totally understand this because you're a really religious guy. You believe in your faith a lot. And so becoming somebody that always thinks about other people first in your leadership, it's a big deal. The world needs people like that. So, I commend you for being that person, because the world needs that in every aspect. I'm proud to be that person in the business world and in my community, but it's nice to know that there are people in the music world.
Because if we're only building our own empires, that's selfish, right? There's got to be something in your soul that just stirs and goes, no. And then and you don't realize it until you start the giving process and start to see the good it does, or to see how people are affected, and it only makes you want to do that more. It makes you want to be that way more, and it's just reciprocity. It's back and
Yes.
you know what I'm saying? It's just that, and you're not going to get the full benefits of the reciprocity unless you literally live in that state. You have to live in a state, to me, of constant giving, because the minute you stop doing that, it's so easy to get back on a selfish, me, and
Yeah.
before you know it, man, you're
Done.
going down the shit.
Done. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I love this. This is so big. We're going to play a little, not a game. We're going to do something that I want to make a tradition here on the Launchcast. We're going to do something called the Big Three.
The Big Three from the Launchcast.
I'm going to call some stuff out. You're going to give me your top three
Okay.
off the top of your head,
Okay.
right? Top three Billy Joel songs.
Scenes from an Italian Restaurant. Vienna. And I got to really think. 2,000 Years.
My man. Holy shit. We're right there.
Yeah.
Top three Mike Delguidice songs.
Oh, Jesus. I don't like me. Can we skip that?
Can I tell you that I know that's your problem and we like you? We really like you.
Yeah, I don't, but yeah. I mean, if there's ones that I could look back and say that have lasted the longest of me wanting to play them, probably Until the End comes first. It's just a little ditty, and it all came out in one shot. And there's not a lot of songs that you write that all come out in one shot, lyrics and melody and chords. Mona Lisa for sure. I don't know. That's tough. That's tough. I would have to really dig down deep. I have some oldest romantic would probably be one that seems to last. But again, I don't think of them as radios. I think of Mona Lisa as a radio song.
Yeah.
I don't think of anything else as a radio song. I don't write for the radio. I don't write to be. If you give me a style and say write like this, I can give you a whole album of shit that sounds like popular radio.
Yeah.
I'm not looking to chase what's out there and been done already.
Yeah.
I just want to be me.
Yeah.
So to me, the only way to do that is I don't allow outside music to infiltrate my brain too much. I stay in my own head when I'm in a writing period, and I just let that happen. I let kind of originality happen. I hope it, because my influences are already there. They're already in me. They're going to come through my music already.
Yeah.
So I don't like a lot of outside influence on top of what I already have.
Yeah.
But Mona Lisa was the first tune where I actually said, you know what? I think I need a commercial tune. I'll stop trying to be the prolific writer, kind of, not try to be, but I need a couple of catchy ones to jump out and be 3 minutes long and hit the radio, and I can write those, like, not to say it in a cocky way, but when you already have a template laid out of what's on the radio, when you listen to it a few times, you can go, yeah, all right, so I got to. It's like a formula.
Yeah.
A lot of these songs are formula. But Mona Lisa was definitely more of like I knew it was going to be I knew it was going to be a radio kind of song, and that's what I was going for. And I really wanted a Coldplay meets Ben Folds 5 version. So we went in bare-assed. I brought Chris Marshak on the drums. You'll see these guys on the live video from the concert at the high school.
Uh-huh.
It's Chris Marshak on drums and John Predis on cello.
Yep.
And Pat Falco on bass.
Okay.
That was it. We literally went in with us four people.
I love it.
And I wanted to make the piano and the vibe of the song to be, and the dynamics, the build-ups.
Yep.
To be everything. And in order to do that, you got to start really minimally. And then you add you really got to add as you go, and be careful. And I think the only thing I overdubbed was just a straight power chord guitar thing, which is buried too. It's not even loud in the mix. And then me and Jonathan did some background vocal. We did that part. But that was it, and I really thought that was like the mainstream tune. I had a tune on my last record, on My Street, One Step at a Time, which was it's a nice wedding song.
Yeah.
But it reminds me of divorce, so I really don't want to fucking talk about that song or the person I wrote it for. So there you go. And I'm sure Billy's got a few of those. So, it's so funny. Every time Billy does a song live, he goes, And then we got divorced. That's like his classic. That's his classic. And I just laugh. And last night he said something over the microphone, which is even funny. He goes, well, I got 4. I've done it 4 times. I said, so have I. And he starts cracking up. And he goes, but I'm still with number 4. So like that kind of. It was like that kind of thing, So
Well, still counts for you.
Still counts.
You were
Yeah, I
number 2,
recycle.
right?
I recycle. You know what I mean? So yeah. So if that song was a good commercial tune too, but I think it was produced too pop, too old school cheese with saxophone. There's no saxophones in music anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like production wise, it kind of it's back a little bit, but the arrangement I enjoyed, and there's some good arrangements in that. So,
Yeah, it's beautiful. Big 3. Top 3 favorite places in the world to be. I'm not talking about vacation locales or anything. I'm talking about being in a place anywhere. Top 3.
Together with all my children at once, when all of them are in the same room. I guess you could say in a creative state, being in a creative state for sure. And I want to say eating a Hungry Man egg sandwich from my cousin's deli.
Yes.
I don't know if that applies, but I think being with somebody you really love.
Yeah.
And I mean like legit love to the point where it
hurts to not be there.
Yeah, and not only hurts not to be there, but a love that you'll be willing to sacrifice a lot of yourself for, even if it means taking a toll.
Yeah.
Genuine love, like I gotta say, like my mom and dad. You asked before, they together or whatever still, and I'll always say I don't know if they should be, but I joke around with them about it too. But the truth is, there's something to be said about that kind of love, where, yes, you might be the craziest person, or I might be the craziest person at times, but we're not going anywhere.
Yep.
That kind of thing, or at least we don't want to go anywhere. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I'll give you that for the top 3.
Okay.
And I'm sure I would think of other things.
And then 3.5 is with the
3.5 is with the X's.
All right.
Yeah.
Top 3 accomplishments.
Being a dad. I would say being able to earn a living playing music. It was just that I can do what I love and actually make a living at it. And I never dreamed it would turn into what it turned into, even with Big Shot, because Big Shot is it's a large portion of the income I make. People think.
And let me say that.
Yeah, it's
you were doing fine with Big Shot.
Yeah.
You were doing fine with Big Shot at that point.
Yeah,
which
absolutely.
That's a big deal, man.
Absolutely,
that's a big deal.
And third would be obviously Billy. I mean, musically speaking, but it always starts with God and the family. You know what I mean? To me, they're tied in together as one.
I love that you put that third.
Yeah.
I do love that.
Yeah.
Top 3 mistakes.
Let's see, top 3. Do I start at 3 or do I start at 1?
Surprise me.
All right. I think top 3 mistakes would be.
Nobody's listening, by the way. Don't worry.
Nobody's listening. Nobody's on.
No, I'm saying. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. Don't be shy.
Mistakes. I don't fucking believe in mistakes. I think mistakes are part of the process. It's hard to answer that kind of question because I can't think of too many mistakes. I make tons of mistakes. I'm a human. I make horrible mistakes, but I can't think of many that didn't help me grow in some way. So it's hard for me to look at anything in my life and go, man, I shouldn't have fucked up. And it goes back to what I teach my kids, which is just, you got to let them screw up. You got to learn. You have to mess up. Mistakes, I would say, would be, I know this is disgusting, but maybe not putting myself first at times. Because I just don't, and I'm not saying that to be in any kind of, I'm being in the most realistic way when I look at my life, is that I'm just always so worried and making sure that other people are okay in my life that I think sometimes I just kind of fall to the wayside, and I think that I can't be good for them unless I'm really good for me. You know what I mean? And I'm in a good place and I'm a whatever. Other mistakes, I would say I've made plenty of mistakes with being a parent.
Include that as one.
What's that?
We'll include that as one.
Yeah.
I get that.
But those are those are things that I needed to do to learn from myself, and there were also things that every kid needs something to say about their parents.
That's right.
There's got to be, it reaches that point of separation in the teenage years to the 20s where, you remember as being a kid, your parents didn't know anything at some point. They're all stupid, they're whatever, and then everything comes full circle.
Yep.
I definitely wish that I would have made a couple of different decisions in that regard with my kids, and maybe even who, we could tie it into that too. I can't tie my divorces into a mistake.
I get it.
Because my kids came from most of them, not the last one. So that one I could say was a fucking number 3. No, you're right. That's a solid of it though. But I'll say like anybody that I was with that I had a child with, I'll never consider a mistake.
Sure.
Because what came from it would only have come from it. They would only be who they are. If I did it if I didn't do it that way, they wouldn't be who they are.
Yeah.
So nothing that doesn't matter. No, that's like no mistake there. And in music, I'd say not practicing for moving out and before I did the audition back in 2001. No, I don't know. There's so many. You know what I mean? I sucked up then. I was.
It wasn't meant to be, man.
That
ended.
I was such. I was
a couple of years.
Yeah.
It was a great show, but
it was. And I had again, like they already had Michael Cavanaugh. They already had Wade. They already had their guys.
Yeah.
So they were spying on me to maybe be a third chair or something that they might have needed. But I was too used to playing Billy's tunes the way I played them.
Yes.
They wanted it exactly by the book. So I
but
went
like a little theatrical too, which isn't like,
and not only that, but in a box. This is
yeah,
no putting it down.
Under the stage, yeah.
In other words, Tommy says this to me all the time when I say, I wish I would have been a little more whatever and a little more whatever. He goes, Mike. He goes, the first time I saw you, he goes, they asked me to report back what I saw. He goes, he's unbelievable. We love the way he sounds. Tommy, I love the way he sounds. Whatever. He goes, but he would look at me all the time. He go, Mike, tattoos, bald. Twyla Tharp was literally like, like who's this guy? Looks like he's gonna jump out in the audience and knock some people out. So it was. And Tommy knows me as somebody that like you can't put a set list in front of me. You can. And
it's not going to work.
No. Maybe 5% of the time I'm going to stick to that list.
Yeah.
I don't like to be put in a box on stage. I like to really just, I got a feeling. Let me go with this. Let me go with that. And, we'll have a template, but then let me, So there's that.
Yeah. Love that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to, I think what we're going to do is I'm going to close out with some closing comments first, and then you'll play some. What do you want to play? What do you think?
Probably until the end.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So I want to thank everybody for joining us first. We're going to be on for a few more minutes while Mike performs here. But I want to say a couple of things. So, the Launchcast. This was a big deal for me, guys. This was something that I have wanted to do for a long time. I think it's a necessary show. We're gonna be talking about leadership from all perspectives, business, life, growth. So stay tuned. You can find us. You know what you do? Check me out on Instagram, Facebook at Launchpad CEO. You'll find the links to the Launchcast accounts from there. This has been an incredible first episode, and I want to thank Mike for being a dude. Thank you. This means so much to me that you were here. And I also, it was important for me to tell your story from a different perspective. I did a ton of research on you. I was up till 3 a.m. last night, man. I watched every single interview you've done. I've read every article. I want to be well prepared for these interviews, and I want to get to the crux of leadership.
You
right?
did a fantastic job.
Thank you, my man.
You're a really good interviewer.
Thank you,
no
my
joke.
man. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I want to get to the crux, and that's what this is about. I want to sort of get to the crux of what it means to be a leader and to show everybody that there's an unconventional journey to get to it, right?
Yes.
My journey to being who I am today, fuck, man.
Yeah.
I wouldn't wish it on anybody, but at the same time, I would wish it on everybody.
You would you wouldn't wish the process on anybody, but you would wish the result.
Yeah, but you know what, man? It's almost like you've been inspired by so many just traumas and tragedies in your life and by so many joys in your life, right?
Yeah.
And that comes through in your music. And so that's what I'm trying to do. This is my music right now, man. This is what I'm trying to do, because you don't want to hear my real music. It actually sounds mostly like your mom walking down the hall in the mornings, tooting, right? So, but this is what we're going to do. We're going to dive in every single week with a new interview. So You'll be able to find this the following Monday morning on iTunes, on Apple Podcasts by 6 a.m. These will load up, and then look for the videos, look for the YouTube channel, the whole deal. So I'm going to leave this with Mike. Again, thank you. We'll go to you now, and thanks for joining us, guys.
All right. This is Until the End. There you go.
Did you find me there again, outside our old hotel? You have grown and I have shown that I've been fine as well. Can I build a bridge between your heart and mine? Take away your pain and make it mine until the end, my faithful friend, till the end. Did you find me there again, inside our old hotel? Years have gone and still you're on my mind, but can you tell? Will you look for me if I cannot be found? Say to me you'll always be around until the end, my faithful friend, till the end. Yeah, 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 yeah. I will look for you if you cannot be found. I say to you, I'll always be around until the end, my faithful friend, till the end. Yeah, 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 yeah. Da do 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 do. Yeah, 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 yeah.
My man, thank you again.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week. Later.
Launch sequence terminated.
Into the black hole. Sing for my soul.
Thanks for listening to the Launchcast today. Please make sure to subscribe to this feed wherever podcasts are available. Follow me, George Andriopoulos, at Launchpad CEO on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. And make sure to visit our website, guys, thelaunchcast.com. Looking forward to the next episode. See you soon, guys.